So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. I don't really have intros for these anymore because they're live, but if you want to introduce yourself, Indigo, you can go right ahead.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Indy. I have like 4,400 hours in this video game. This awesome hide and seek video game called Dead by Daylight.
It's Tad.
Yeah. So I started playing my background in this game. I started playing like shortly after lockdown happened in like 2020. And then I just took like a year-long break from it because I had a bunch of stuff happening, and then I've just been consistently back since like October of 2021. And I've just been back ever since. Um and yeah, I have an absurd amount of hours on Nemesis, and I also have I'm starting to climb up and having a more absurd amount of hours on the Unknown. And I've seen a lot, I've heard a lot, I've had a lot said to me, I've said a lot to other people, and it's like, wow, this is pretty shitty all over a video game.
Yeah, so today's topic is going to be talking about player entitlement, something that I try to avoid talking about a lot because one, I don't get it as often as others, and I think there's a few reasons for that, and it's not the reasons you probably think, but
Mm-hmm.
part of the reason I don't get it as often is because I'm on Windows Store when I play.
Mm-hmm.
So people see the globe and they don't even bother.
Because they automatically assume, oh, their console, they're not going to see, so why bother?
Yeah. But I do stream and I have TTV in my name. So I get some from that. Not as often.
Unsolicited reviews, let's call them.
We were talking about this a little bit beforehand, but yeah, even like today, my mod can tell you, or my mods can tell you, we had to ban somebody because they were very, very passionate about the fact that I slugged because they saboed.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was just supposed to let them go. I don't know what they... Anyways, so player entitlement is a... It's a pretty big deal in Dead by Daylight, and I would argue more so in this game than any other game I've ever played. I don't know if you've had... Do you have a very, very prominent background in any other games? Really?
Not that I know of. Maybe, I've, best way I can describe it, it's like watching, a freaking, battleship, happening. Like, you're just seeing, this big old war happening. You're just kind of standing there with your binoculars, like, damn, that sucks. I'll just leave it be. This is from League, and I've just seen this from League, but it's, it's nowhere close. And, but that's just, general toxicity. But with DBD, it's, I have seen no other, video game players say, if you run this build, you're a piece of fucking shit, and I hope something you love is set on fire. I have never ever experienced another video game or any other community that has, just spoken to another, about another human being in the ways that I've seen, in playing this game consistently since 2021.
Yeah, so I played League of Legends, I don't want to say seriously, but a lot for about 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations on your remission.
Yes, yeah. I don't even remember when I left. I hopped back on to buy a skin for a character I used to main because I have a problem. Shut up. But it was never this bad. I would maybe get told to off myself maybe once every couple of weeks, but in Dead by Daylight, I see it every day. Not necessarily towards me, but I'll watch other friends stream and they get them a lot. It's not even because of something they said, it's just how they played. That's the weird thing about Dead by Daylight is it's the only game I know where people get mad at you for playing a certain way.
Or even just winning because you knew all the counters.
Yeah.
Basically you get bullied if you aren't a brand new fresh install player, and then you're bullied if you aren't, or if you are, and it's there's just no winning, and it's just there's a level of insane absurdity with this that is just indescribable.
Yeah, because I mean, I've seen people get mad at others for slugging for the 4K. I've seen people get mad at others for letting people go. I've had people get mad at me for doing that sometimes, where it's why did you give them hatch? And then they'll go on a tirade of oh, you shouldn't give them hatch. It's not, they don't deserve it. I deserved it. Okay. Whatever. People get mad about the builds you bring, the add-ons you bring, the items you bring, the perks you bring. And it would be one thing if it was just like general anger or like
Mm-hmm.
annoyance, but it goes so far
It
in this
becomes
game.
so incredibly personal, like immediately almost.
And I will never like I mean, PTB today, once again, I think today is a good day to do this because of PTB was insane today for a lot of people. But everyone's running around playing the same survivor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's playing Laura Croft right now.
Mm-hmm.
um People were getting mad about tunneling. I tunneled someone and someone got very mad at me about it. And I was like, listen, you're all the same character. You all look exactly the same. I'm not paying attention. I'm sorry that I tunneled somebody. That's what made me. That's what weirded me out. They weren't mad that I tunneled them. They were mad I tunneled somebody else.
Yeah,
They,
it
they,
almost feels like a form of like white knighting almost, and that's just so weird.
yeah, and people make the assumption on your intentions with it, and it's like, bro, I'm just playing the game. Like it's just it gets to a point to where like I don't know what anyone wants because everything gets so muddled into the same pool of I want killers to play exactly the way, or not even just killers. Killers get entitled too. I want to make this very clear.
Mm-hmm.
The reason we don't see killer entitlement as much is just it's a numbers game. There's 4 survivors and 1 killer. Statistically speaking, you're going to see the survivor entitlement 4 times more.
Oh
Um,
yeah, and you're gonna just see the like even then, like if you're on Twitter as like a killer main, like you're just gonna be rolling your eyes like in every other taking. You're just gonna be like, if you want to make sure you're not going crazy, you just mute and block all the people that just frustrate you because what's the point of just interacting with that?
it's
But it's just
once again, this is why it's a kind of a hard thing to talk about.
yeah.
One of my little notes here though is in-game chat. Now, in-game chat is it's interesting because the way this game works is once you die, you usually should just go to next, right?
Mhm.
There's no reason for you to stick around unless you're playing with your friends, and even then, you can wait around in the lobby. But a lot of people, solo queue or not, will stay, wait, and then still remain mad at you. And I will never, ever understand this mentality. It's just, you are so upset at the result of the video game that you waited upwards of 10 to 15 minutes to stay
Mhm.
and tell another human being that they don't deserve to live because of how they played a video game. It baffles my mind, and I will never understand the mindset. I just don't get how you are in a position in your life where that is your first thought.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't really know how behavior can combat this. What am I?
I mean, they've partially combated it with like the weird censorship like situation. Like I would rather they have that uncensored so that you're able to just flat out like report that sort of thing. And that's even then I would say like a form of entitlement, like because I need to like heavily stress this. You are not immune to not being entitled. Everyone feels some form of entitlement in one way or another,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
sure, maybe, like you're just some like schmuck that like works like 60 hours a week, and your only way to like feel any stress relief is to play killer and Dead by Daylight, and so you're just like you run the strongest shit because like you want to like just feel something, I guess, and survivors just get mad at you, and you're just like what the fuck ever. But like
I mean,
you know,
I'm a Chucky main. You're a unknown slash nemesis main.
yeah,
Like, obviously, we feel entitlement whenever we see changes to our killer, or like we want changes to our killer. Like, there's obviously a level of entitlement there. Whenever we're playing a match, obviously we want to win the match most of the time. There's exceptions to that,
mhm,
but there's a line. There's a line that a lot of people cross with it. I feel.
mhm,
Um, are you entitled to a win? No, you're not entitled to a win. No one is. If you played bad or played in a certain way, or the killer played in a certain way to counter it, or the survivor played in a certain way to counter it, you don't get the win. That's just how the game works, or any game works. But for a lot of people, they feel like, oh well, if they don't play in the way I want them to, then they're a terrible human being.
and it's just so absurd when we're able to just like very calmly discuss like, damn, this shit is fucking like It's ridiculous, you know?
Yeah, and
And
no, go on, go on.
and like I just remembered a very specific interaction I had. I was live, and this was probably sometime around a little bit after 7th anniversary event last year, because I'm doing a thing with RPD, and I tunnel out of Meg because I need pressure in the match. And so, I have, the Twitch name in my name, and I assume that this is just a solo queue lobby. And I complete the match, and I remember doing a chase with a Michaela, and I noticed she did an anti-hem, so I call her a rat because, that's just the next thing I can think of that's not crazy offensive. You're a rat.
Mm.
I finished the match, and this Michaela said, I hear everything. It turned out this Meg was so angry at me for having tunneled her out, she felt entitled to then stream snipe me to her duo.
Even though that's against TOS.
It's against TOS, and it's a generally really shitty thing to do. What the fuck? I won in the end, but it's dude, are you okay?
That brings in the other thing with you called them a rat, and some would say oh, that's probably a step too far. I wouldn't say that's a step too far at all. I mean, once again, you're calling. I'll be chasing survivors, and I'll be like, that was fucking stupid, or why'd you do that, or and I tend to be a little bit more. I don't want to say tame, but you'd think I call people idiots all the time when I'm playing. Right? Mm-hmm. I call them stupid. I call them rats or things like that. And it's just a reaction to the game. I don't mean anything personal by it. And I think some people can't distinguish the difference of in-game. Once the match is over, no, I'm not going to say any of that to anybody. Mm-hmm. Unless they instigate it.
Yeah.
And even then, I try to catch my tongue.
Yeah, I do my best to just never take it out of a match. Once you take it out of the match, then that's kind of on you. If someone comes in oh, why'd you tunnel me? You're oh, why this and that? And it's I'll joke oh, do you see who I'm playing as? I have a license to tunnel, actually. Or and I'll just be I needed the pressure and I had no idea where your teammates were. Or I'll even actively apologize in a match, and it's sorry that I slugged for the 4K, but I wish I could find you so that neither of us could be here for a minute longer. My God. And that just happens, and this is not necessarily either my fault or the other player's fault, but sure, I get it, but it's sometimes shit happens.
Yeah, and and don't get me wrong, there are moments of I don't want to say personal attack necessarily, but malicious. I mean, if a killer slugs all 4 survivors, leaves them on the ground for the entire 4-minute duration, when they could very easily hook them. Mm-hmm. I think that's a different situation. I think that's the one exception. Mm-hmm. But even then, at the end of the day, while I do think that's probably reportable in my opinion, just move on. Just move on. I get it. It sucks. They wasted 4 minutes of your time. I get it. I do. But at the end of the day, just you just got to learn to move on. And I feel like a lot of Dead by Daylight players just can't do that. And
yeah,
it wouldn't bother me as much. But once again, it's the only game I've seen where people will go out of their way to do this stuff regularly. Where people will go into people's streams and get mad at them, or call them names and slurs and stream snipe them, and take clips out of context and post it all over Twitter.
Make videos about them.
As friends with someone, or let me rephrase this. I used to be friends with somebody who did exposés on Dead by Daylight players. I'm no longer friends with them because they did a very, very, very bad thing that I will not name or say. But they would basically do that. They would go through people's DMs and do quote investigating into their personal lives and try to bring it to the forefront because of things they did in a video game. And it was so strange. I never called them out on it because at the time I was very naive and I was just oh, they're just they're just playing the game or the YouTube game, but it was just not good. It was not healthy for anybody, and I don't understand how you go to a position in your life where that's what you want to do with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then as far as Twitter goes, it's funny because I know we're talking about name calling and general player entitlement and things like that, but it kind of also rubber bands the other way. I feel like Dead by Daylight is one of the few games where trash talking in general is like not
Allowed and sometimes encouraged, but like,
also not allowed.
yeah, it's like it's such a two-faced thing is the best way to describe it.
Like I have never seen a game where like you can't call someone a bitch, and it maybe that's not the best word, but you know what I mean. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't like get mad at somebody in the game, not personally, not directly, but like at something they did in the game in that moment, without it getting plastered on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, Twitter's not a real place, but I'm on there enough for it to affect me sometimes. Anyways,
Never seen another game where people are willing to install an app from another platform, i.e., a PC player installing a PlayStation app, so they could go out of the way to message someone they played against. That is a level of petty, like, hatefulness that I have never seen anywhere else, honestly.
only in Dead by Daylight.
Only in Dead by fucking Daylight. Actually, I lied. I have seen this before. I used to be on Tumblr for, like, over a decade, and I knew people who would hate follow other people on secret blogs.
Somehow I think Tumblr was probably worse, but that's a different time.
That is a radically different time. Like, ever since a bunch of stuff happened, they were able to, like, migrate to Twitter, and that's why Twitter is worse now. But if they mess up Twitter somehow, all the really, like, yeah, but, like, it's just, you know, I've never ever seen just that sort of, like, vindictiveness of a person. Like, what is going on in your life that makes you feel, like, so small and, like,
And
hateful to do that, like to just spend all your energy doing that when you could just keep playing the video game, basically.
and the question I think a few questions come from it is I think the big one is Dead by Daylight just by design kind of does it kind of encourage it? And personally, I would say no, but at the same time, I can kind of understand how that mentality could fester, um, due to the asymmetricalness and the. I mean, I was going to say lack of a better word, but the tribalism that comes from the game in general because of that.
All of that us versus them, and I actually I'm gonna start rambling a little bit because I love learning like why certain stereotypes are a thing in DBD. Like a really famous example is like, you know, the Doctor like just Herman swing, and it's because Doctor came out free like for a lot of console items, and the auto aim just sucks huge like butt. So you know, like Herman Carter just swings like crazy, and I figured that out all on my own. But the other thing is, when I played DBD in 2020, entirely different thing. Like this was when we had recently. I came into the game right after they nerfed Original Ruin, where every skill check made it regress, but every great didn't make it regress. And my friends who got me into this were like, okay, you know, we don't have to do this anymore. You know, God, why are you doing this to like random players? And like, you know, I remember, you know, asking about, you know, brand new parts and styptics and anti-hems, and they're like, oh, you shouldn't use that. It's really, really strong and really, really unfair for like the killers. I was like, okay. And this all came from like at the very beginning of Dead by Daylight when we had instantly completed gens and like single and double health states from anti-hems and styptics. Styptics used to give you a health state, and anti-hems gave you 2 health states. So you could have someone come over and anti-hem you from the ground, and you'd be fully healthy. Like, that was an entirely different time, and so... And this was when the game was way smaller, like maybe a few thousand players, and like all this console, like, you know, crossplay stuff we've had. And, you know, stuff has definitely been, like, toned way, way down and nerfed way, way down where it's more bearable, basically. And less just completely unbalanced, for lack of a better way to describe it.
Right. And, you know, I played, I don't know if you played it, do you remember VHS?
I remember VHS. I only played as teen, and I couldn't really get into playing it. And I remember playing Monster, and Monster or just sucked. It just sucked hardcore.
So VHS, I was playing towards the end of its life. There was only about 70 to 100 of us on at any given point of the day.
Mm-hmm.
We all knew each other. To the point to where, house rules was a thing. We all kind of decided, don't bring this, don't do that, don't do this. If there's a new player, maybe take it easy. Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when the game is much smaller knit like that, one, it can't survive, not in today's day and age. And
No,
two, it's much easier to regulate that kind of stuff.
absolutely.
However, when that happens and the game starts getting bigger and more people start joining it, and you get to a point to where the quote rules are being broken, you can't be mad at the newer players if the game allows it. Unfortunately, and I don't want to say unfortunately. That's just how it is. And when these things that are very frustrating eventually get changed, because now that players are actually using it and the devs are listening because they're trying to get more players, and changing things around, like old styptic, like old syringes, old
Old BNPs,
infinite windows, which are still in the game.
infinite like never responding hooks.
Oh god.
Like
Oh
I wasn't
man.
there for that, thank God. But like being able to 99 hooks was just the most insane thing like I had ever like seen.
Getting rid of trappers traps forever.
Oh my God, like I'm so glad I didn't play DVD when it was like that back then because fun fact, I graduated high school like 9 days before Dead by Daylight came out.
I was I think I was doing training in New York. I don't remember.
Yeah, like I graduated high school like basically like a little more than a week before DVD came out.
But
And
but
it's crazy.
but the thing is, like we were saying with like the house rules and things like that, when the player base is as small as it was very easy to keep things regulated, quote unquote. Because
Mm-hmm.
I've mentioned this before. One of the problems, and I say problems, but it's not really a problem. But the thing with multiplayer games nowadays, because everyone's like, why is multiplayer gaming so toxic? The thing is, multiplayer games, for the most part, are not actually any more toxic than back in the day when you used to do LAN parties and you had
Mm-hmm.
like 4 friends over. The difference is when you were toxic back then, it was to someone you knew in the same room.
Yeah, and like if you got really bad, you could just fist fight each other and then just be over with it if you wanted to. But like with it being like you like basically like shit talking a guy that's like 100, 1,000, 10,000 miles away from you, like what are you gonna do except just talk insanely mad shit to them? Like
Mm.
oh your like aim is garbage. Oh like why'd you rush in when we were trying to defend and like things like that, which can be fine to some degree, but like other things is like hey like can we at least get like a single call out, things like that is like fine, but then when it gets to be like immensely personal to the point where you just tell them to just like all this like really explicit shit, it's like it's crazy. And like once we were able to move away from like in-game voice chat and to like Skype and Discord and like you know console voice chat when that eventually got implemented, that was just kind of it for like all those sorts of things.
Yeah, and some people still miss those days. To a degree, I kind of do. I actually made some friends because of proximity chat and things back in the day, but the bad wasn't worth the good, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely not. But also, we do have to remember that like a majority of the people in those like chats were like parent hating like teens, like my mom sucks, she didn't let me get another cookie from the cookie jar type of shit, like my mom didn't let me have a sleepover at Jennifer's house, so fuck these guys, stupid shit like that. But like majority of the gamers that like are on there are like grown adults and like people that like really know how to like say something pretty horrific and awful to other people, and it's crazy.
There's things very, very specific, which is always what gets me. People think I use a PNG tuber because of that, which is not why I use one. Um, but some of my friends use Facecam, and some of the stuff I've seen people say to them is just absolutely vile, and I don't know how anyone can have that much hate like in their mind at any point. Like
Yeah.
I will never understand it. I don't like I just can't comprehend it. But back to the Dead by Daylight thing though, with like, is the game designed in a way where it kind of encourages it? I know some have made that claim. I really don't think it is. I don't think it's any different than any other multiplayer game with two sides.
Yeah, no, like it wasn't. I feel like it wasn't intentionally done, but like whenever you have just two opposing forces, of course there's gonna be like a preference of one side over the other, and also like a biased like viewership because a lot of the survivor like players that I've come across will be like, oh, you're the killer, so you're evil and like awful and like fucked up and all this stuff, and it's like, well, no. Like, have you played killer? Like, have you seen how some survivors will treat you? Like, it's kind of quite the opposite sometimes.
For no reason whatsoever. You can be
And
playing
it's
as
insane.
nice. You can be playing as nice as you want, and people will still like bag you at the gates, or which once again people could say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's more a pride thing. It's like, man, I'm trying to like play the game in a fun way for these guys, and they still hate me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then it starts a vicious cycle, which it always does. As much as I like to think, oh, I'm above it, I'm not. No one is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you can always work to be above it, but you'll never truly be above it sometimes.
yeah, as much as like I like to say like I've never said anything I probably shouldn't have. I'm not gonna lie straight to anyone's face. I probably said some things I shouldn't have in the past.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I'd like to hope I'm better about it now, and I won't do it again. But but it's Dead by Daylight being asymmetrical. I really don't think has anything to do with it. I think a lot of it is once again just it's a chicken and the egg situation. Who was the first toxic person that caused the other person to want to be toxic to the next person? Is
Yeah.
really what it comes down to. And the game having differing objectives, the way the game is designed in the sense of, I've said this before. Part of the reason I think tunneling feels so bad, like if you get tunneled like right off the gate, at 5 gens as a survivor, even if your entire team gets out and you're the only one who dies, the killer lost, you lost, but your team won.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're in a Discord call, you still feel like you lost. You still feel like something was wrong about it. And there,
Yeah.
and it's just the inherent design of the game. There's no way for them to really fix that.
Yeah. A lot of this unfortunately ties back to some of the game design currently with SBMM, and people are like, well, what's the point of playing Survivor if it's all individualistic? And like, not to quote Patrick, I looped the killer for 7 hours, and I got like 10 generators done, and I unhooked like 37 survivors, and I died. And like, I did all these objectives, and I still lose like because of that. And it's like yes, technically according to the MMR system, but like the other it's just
it's a weird game where like I said, they described this game as a 1v1v1v1. Was that 4? Whatever. 1v1 times 4. They described it as that, not a 1v4. They've described it as that many times, and I think as one of the worst things they could have ever said.
Yeah, no, like this game is absolutely a 1v4, but like it's not only just a 1v4, it is also a 1v1, depending upon what killer you're facing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, Trapper is a 1v4 and a 1v1 because you have to have survivors coordinate to basically disable powers. And it goes for the same with, like, say, a mobility killer, for a Xenomorph, for, Unknown and Vecna. Like, it's not just a 1v4 or, like, a 1v1, it's both, and that's, like, fine. But it's also what makes it so frustrating.
Yeah,
at the same time.
And like I think I often bring up Deathslinger. Deathslinger is a terrible 1v4 killer.
Absolutely.
He's terrible at macro because he has no map mobility. However, he is one of, if not the most powerful 1v1 killers in the game if someone knows what they're doing.
Absolutely.
As a result, he is extremely frustrating to play against. In the 1v1. But once again, a lot of times, unless they know how to manage their macro game properly, they're probably going to lose, at least get 2 outs a lot of the times, unless they know exactly what they're doing. And it's not no shade at Deathslinger players. I know some really good ones who win a lot. But my point is just inherent killer design. It's just like with Chucky, because I mean Chucky a lot. Chucky is a 1v1 character. He's a 110 killer with a dash that hits people, who can very, very minutely get around the map. On bigger maps, if the survivors just split up, there's really not much he can do. He can put that pressure on that one person to apply pressure to other people, but for the most part, in the 1v1, if circumstances are correct and the person playing him knows what they're doing, you're probably going to lose very quickly.
Oh, absolutely.
And as a result, he's very frustrating for people to play against because they feel that the 1v1 is where they should be able to show their skill as survivor. But on killers like Chucky, the 1v4 is where you show your skill. And I don't think people enjoy that very much. And as a result, it makes them feel like they were cheated in some way during the match. Because it's like, well, if it was a different killer or a different map, and I think the RNG definitely plays a role into it as well. With how certain tiles can spawn and things like that. And also, I would argue that the killer you get isn't necessarily RNG, but it is to a degree. But if you bring it like a healing altruistic build and you go up against a plague, I mean, I'd be a little mad.
Oh, absolutely. Or like you'll pull up and I call this a tome challenge curse, where you are picking the healing challenge for Survivor and you get 6 plagues in a row, and it's like, well, son of a bitch. But then you'll just not care about working towards it, and you just so happen to get the healing challenge done against another killer who doesn't make you broken for an entire match. And then you'll do the same thing with other stuff, and you try to get it in one challenge and people will get frustrated, and that's just how it is. But a lot of the time, there is some feeling of being cheated upon. And to talk about Chucky a little bit, for me, he was just miserable to play as and against, and it primarily was just specifically because of the scamper. I hated it. I hated every aspect of playing as and against this killer because it felt like all the Chuckies knew how to do was just wait for pre-drop and then scamper and then hit you, and that just felt very cheap and shitty to me, which was whatever. And then he gets updated where he can no longer manually scamper, and that's a lot better. I would say, honestly.
I picked the worst background footage. It's the background footage of me getting clips from a scamper montage.
But considering he got recently changed, I also had another Chucky player who I went against, and he basically gave up. He tried to manual scamper and he left, and he just gave up and sat in a corner the entire match, and he's like, this killer sucks. Oh. And he felt entitled that Chucky should have been able to manually scamper still.
My question with it though, is it a lack of empathy? Not in general, I don't know these people personally, so I don't know how they are in their real lives, but when they're playing the game, is it just a lack of empathy for the other side sometimes? Because that's
what I'm thinking. Yeah,
I feel like that's what it comes down to. Because it's me and a lot of the other this isn't me tooting my own horn, but me and a lot of the other bigger Chucky players, we all agreed that manual scamper was stupid and it shouldn't exist the way it was. We all agreed. We didn't agree on how it should be changed, but we did all agree that scamper branding as Chucky is one of the most boring things for both sides. It's not fun. It's not engaging for either side and anything like that. And when it was changed, we all praised it. We all said it was a buff because they buffed the cooldown and stuff. But there's still those people who hold on to the fact that this was a massive nerf and Chucky should be Chucky should be able to scamper because otherwise he doesn't have anything else, which isn't true in the slightest. And it's did you guys just not care about the other side at all during all of that?
Yeah.
Were there counters to scamper? Yeah, but it was hold W and not drop any pallets. That was the counter.
Basically.
To it. Yeah. And that's just not very fun to a degree. I would tell people the counter, and I wasn't telling them it to be hey, it's fine, here's the counter. I would tell people the counter to be hey, I know it's frustrating, I hope it gets changed. In the meantime, here's what you can do to counter it. That's basically what my mindset was for it.
Mm-hmm.
But even some other recent changes like Trickster. Oh dear God.
Yeah.
Not counting the epilepsy bug going on right now. But the general rework they did to Trickster. I don't know how Behavior managed to make a character that both people hate playing against and as after a rework, but they did it. They did
How
it.
do you make something that was more or less perfectly okay and fine, to quote my friend, into abysmal talk shit?
Like,
It's genuinely terrible. And like this friend, I actually didn't like Trickster initially, and I would watch his clips where he like would tap fire that guy, and then I actually made the effort to get better, and I started enjoying Trickster.
and then they changed him.
And then like all this happens, and I haven't touched Trickster since, like at all.
But back to the whole game design thing though. I wonder if like the win condition is also kind of part of it.
Yeah, like
Because like I said earlier, if you get tunneled out at 5 gens, even if your whole team gets out, you still lost. You didn't, but you feel like you did.
yeah.
And as far as go on.
And like a part of it is a mindset thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I do play both sides, not to like be that guy, but like, I'll tunnel if I need to, and sometimes like, I'll let a random survivor go for whatever reason. Maybe they're cute, they were funny, something stupid happened, for literally whatever reason. And like I like to think that maybe, their night was made, because sometimes they'll be like, oh my god, thank you, like, I've been trying this all night, and like stuff. Or I'll have like an instance where like a killer, like, like I go on a long chase with a killer, and like 3 gens go off, which is a very rare thing to happen in solo queue. And sure, they'll like immediately start telling them, it's like, yeah, I get it, man, like, sure, I get it. And that's just something you have to like accept sometimes. And it is genuinely like a mindset thing, and just kind of feeling a little like, not even like that much, just like a little bit of empathy, like, yeah, I get it, just a little bit of like, yeah, I get it, man, I can't even be mad, kind of a thing.
I used to have a rule on stream. If I saw, and it's only if I see one. If I see one person with no mither, I will hook them twice and never touch them again.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I do that is because if it's only one person, they're probably doing that dumbass, stupid archive challenge.
Oh yeah.
And I know how frustrating it can be, so I just let them go. I'll get my 2 hooks. Hopefully their teammate actually unhooks them. Which I think leads into kind of a different topic with this on the survivor end of things, and that's selfish gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Because as we were talking about with like the 1v1 versus the 1v4, the amount of times I have, and it's been happening a lot more recently, I'll hook somebody, I will purposely walk away when even my best strategy would be to camp them, and be like, okay, well, I'll leave them here, someone will come get them, and then the survivors never go get them. Because gens before friends, or well, I thought you would come back and proxy the hook and things like that. It's like, just help your teammates, man. Like I don't understand why that is like the difficult thing for some people to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
you'll get survivor stereotypes. Like I've been hearing on Twitter, because I play Maria and James and Cheryl. People are like, you're like the most altruistic, Maria I've ever come across, and it's like, are you kidding me? Like, what do you mean?
That's why it's one thing I like about maining Zarina. She has like no stereotypes. No one ever knows what to think.
I just see a creature, I think.
it's like, I'm trying to think of like Nancy's are usually like really good loopers, and like selfish is a stereotype I know of, and usually that's one I fall into. That's probably the only like survivor stereotype I'm like, I genuinely believe sometimes. I don't know what it is about Nancy players, I swear. I'm part of the problem. But like, I think it also extends to killers as well, because I mean, Nemesis always tunnels.
He is the king of tunneling! Back at it again now that Wesker's infection was nerfed. But like, this brings me back to like finding out why that was the case, and it's because when the Resident Evil chapter came out, we literally got like 100,000 brand new players to play as the Nemesis, because their ASIM game, that came with like Resident Evil 3, just tanked. They're doing house rules at this point.
Resistance?
Like, resistance, yeah. Like, there was no other video game where you could basically play as Nemesis. except for DVD.
Right, and I think we got actually I think that was the second. I think actually All Things Wicked brought more players.
Did it?
Last I checked, I think someone was telling or was showing the stats for that, and I was very surprised. Just shows the power of Sable.
I'm sorry. I'm more excited about that freak ass thing called the Unknown. Okay.
Oh, you got that? You got the weapon, didn't you?
I did.
Have you seen it in the game yet?
I have not. I've been working, and it's just
it's so good in game.
it's peak.
It's so good. Like I saw like that it was a broken bottle, and it also doesn't cover up as much of your screen as the axe does.
I don't mind the axe as much, to be honest.
It's also, I'm glad that I brought on two people in a row now that both hate Sable as much as I do.
I am so sick of that girl. I am so sick of her. Where is my Beachbody Unknown cosmetic PHBR? I was a crazy person when Unknown dropped on March 12th. I spent $80 on that chapter buying all its cosmetics day one. It's crazy.
But back to the entitlement thing.
Yeah.
Welcome to the podcast. It's also like I said, with the win condition, because like we brought up new players, and it's like this discussion has been had 100 times. If you brought a new player into this game, someone who doesn't understand this game in any way, shape, or form, and you told them, all right, here are two targets. One of them requires you to hit them twice. One of them requires you to hit them once. Which one are they going to go for?
The one that lets you hit it once, yeah.
Well, like, of course they are, because it makes the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
And apart from, the Survivor rulebook or the general rulebook, or like, once again, I don't like to make this sound like I'm completely killer-sided on this issue, because there are killers. There is a killer rulebook. I don't know it, but it's there. What is it? No body blocking, no sabotaging, no brand new parts, no syringes, I think. I don't know the rest. Whatever. But like a lot of this quote Survivor rulebook is, no tunneling, no camping,
no slugging.
No slugging. Don't bring NOED. Don't camp the gates. I've heard that one a few times. Because apparently watching the exit isn't a good idea, I guess.
I think I know why, because back then there was no endgame collapse.
No, there wasn't. I mean, there was hatch standoffs that lasted, I think the longest on record was 6 hours.
No, I've heard it longer, like 12, 18, 17 hours. Like, it gets longer and longer the more I hear about it.
Listen, I know that sounds ridiculous, and some would say that it's a terrible thing. I actually kind of wish it was still in the game.
I wish I could just rip people out of hatches if they'd, like, jump in right in front of me. Like, I wish for that, I'm not gonna lie.
My patience, I do chuck spots a lot. I'm sure you've seen the clips on Twitter. My patience is unmatched, alright? I will stand there for 2 hours. Alright, I am that petty, I got nothing else going on.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
And I kind of wish it was back. But, like, the win condition on Survivor is to escape. It's not to escape as a team, it's to escape as an individual. And the win condition on Killer is we still don't know.
Kill everyone, I guess.
Like, I still, in my mind, in most people's minds, it's a 3K. It's a 3K, and that's a win. Because you killed more than half of the survivors. However, some would argue it's a 4K. Some would argue it's at least 10 hooks. Some would argue, like, blah, 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 blah. Like, there's a lot of, like variable conditions with it.
Yeah.
But I think on the Survivor end of things, because the win condition is you escaping, it makes things feel more personal when you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, somehow you were cheated, and I know I keep using that phrase a lot, but I mean, it's really the best way to describe it. So it feels like you were cheated, or the killer had something out against you when they tunneled you out, or they had something against you when they camped you, things like that. I think people have a hard time disassociating with the idea of it's nothing personal.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Don't get me wrong, there are instances where it is, and to the people who do make it personal, they can also eat a bag of dicks. It's just, I think survivors once again need to and killers once again they need to take away the personal attacks from things that are happening in the game unless there's some shown way of knowing that it was personally against you.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it's like maybe it wasn't personally against you. Maybe it was just, oh, well, you dropped 6 pallets on my head. Of course I'm going to camp you. Or
Yeah.
something like that, right? It's not necessarily me camping you because you are a terrible person or I think you deserve to be camped. It's, you dropped 6 pallets on my head, I'm kind of going to give you some payback, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and, you know, this kind of brings into the idea of, is there much the devs can do about it? Because I really don't think there is.
Yeah, frankly, there isn't. Like, with the camping stuff, we've got the anti-camp system. With the tunneling stuff, we've got base kit borrow time. With the holding a 3-gen until the match crashes out from the server, not responding. We have there's the in-game stuff, but I will be a little bit entitled now and say that if they do something about just if they do something about one of the only one of the few genuinely tried and true viable strategies of tunneling, sure there's perks for it. Sure you could still lose it if you do it improperly, but it just genuinely, this is just a game balance thing at that point. There's just something that can feel very personal depending upon how things go.
Well, yeah, and I mean, they tried things like to counter slugging, they did the unbreakable base kit, which I have gone on record saying I think they should go back to and try it again. That's just a me thing. I got a lot of shit for saying that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think inherently it was a problem. I think they were trying to solve a problem for sure. I think they did it in a very bad way, but and that's why I personally think they should go back to the drawing board and try it again.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people complained that it made the game very, very, very frustrating at the time because killers would just fork or try to slug all 4 people at the same time. No one would go for hooks or anything. And if they've tried things for anti-tunnel, and I think the base kit borrow time, for the most part, along with off the record, if you really, really are that set on not being tunneled, and decisive strike being buffed like it was, I think we have plenty of options in the game to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they added more to the base kit to make anti-tunnel, more of a thing, I think it would just break the game in a way that just wouldn't be fun for the killer side. And it's not me trying to show my bias. I'm just trying to be honest about it,
Yeah, or they'll just drop a perk that everybody uses because you can get value out of it for free. Like with the 5 months of MFT we got on release of it. I went crazy. I'm not going to lie. I went straight crazy because of MFT.
I played
with the killer I played as. I was such a freaking numbers nerd with all of that. You move at 95% speed in tiers 1 and 2. You move at 100% speed in tier 3. I was missing max range shots with Nemesis that I would not normally miss, and it started making me go crazy. I became deranged and fucked up and evil because of MFT.
I was maining clown at the time, so I didn't even notice.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I did understand everyone's frustrations with it, but I was like, I don't even notice shit. In my own
MFT, what the fuck is that?
In my own little bubble with the one killer who countered it. Yeah, it's funny too because I feel like if MFT came into the game, because they nerfed it right before Chucky came out, I feel like if it was still the same when Chucky came out, I don't think I would be maining this character. I know, yeah. I know. I say I'm ride or die with him, but yeah, if MFT was in the game, I do not think I would play this character.
My friends are having a crazy conspiracy theory because of Languid Touch. If MFT was still untouched, Languid Touch would be on every single killer. Across all MMRs.
Yeah, I think Languid Touch is actually I don't want to say slept on because I have been seeing it a little bit more. I think it's just going overlooked a little bit.
Just a little bit because sure it's a crow perk. What the hell are you gonna do about that? But I'll see Languid Touch and I'm like, wait, shit, why am I exhausted? Oh shit, it's Languid Touch, and you just screwed out of getting extra distance from Lithe or Dead Hard or like any other exhaustion perk because you didn't pay attention. And that's kind of part of the value of it. Is like you don't realize what's going on.
Yeah, and I heard some people saying, like, Langwood, for example, they're like, oh, well, you don't even know if it went off. It has a cooldown.
Yeah.
You know it went off. And also, if you really think about it, it's also information.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, oh, it went off. Someone's nearby. You don't get exact info, but you know someone's nearby, which can often save you from, like, a flashlight save or, you know, a random pallet drop or a Sabo coming in. Like, there's a lot of things that can actually help you with.
Or a third health state from Dead Hard.
That's and you know, someone in chat just said, you know, and then we nerf them into the ground and make them useless. I don't think MFT is useless. I think it definitely has its use. It's just more situational, and I think it's how more perks need to be.
Perks need to just really genuinely work with very strong perks. This is going to be a crazy take. Very strong perks need to be balanced around very specific scenarios and be like balanced around whether or not they can be 4-stacked. Because that was the other issue with MFT, is that it was 4-stacked every single game with Hope, with Resilience, with Windows, with Iron Will, and it was just insanity. And like, you know, the fact that it only works when you're Deep Wound makes it great, because now it is specifically an extra speed boost for anti-tunnel.
Yeah, or, you know, after a Dead Hard, or after, I'm trying to think of other things that give you Deep Wound, like...
Legion, although it does specifically fuck over, like, Legion and,
I would say...
like, a third of Knight's Power and, like, Deathslinger, but that's just, like, 3 incredibly specific, rare cases.
Even then, though, like, Legion typically isn't chasing the person that's Deep Wounded. Deathslinger has a gun, and...
Yeah, Deathslinger has a gun!
And Knights, like, 9 times out of 10, if you're chasing them with Assassin, you're probably there for the double hit anyways.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Skull Merchant...
Oh, yeah, Scourgeon, too. She has Hinder! She has
hindered. Never mind. Yeah, she counters.
You become Deep Wounded and hindered, nerd. Like,
but you know the balance of some of the perks. Like I've also said on like the killer side of things as far as perks goes. I think one of the bigger problems is I think too many perks are too generalistic.
Yeah.
I've had this problem. I think Dredge is one of the best examples to me. Dredge is a very hard killer to build or to use a lot of perks with. Because he's undetectable half the time. He's like, he has map mobility. He's an M1 killer, not an M2 killer. Like, it's mostly the undetectable half the time. As a result, he can't use Terror Radius perks because sometimes he's just undetectable for half the match. It doesn't matter.
It's like they pulled a prank on him because with Dissolution, it only works in Terror Radius.
Yeah. I didn't even think
I've seen a Freddy use Dissolution and had a build to keep people asleep, and I'm like, what are you cooking? Are you okay? Like, did you lose a bet? Like, did you lose a dare? Like, what happened?
It's like with one of the Dark Arrogance perk they released with Vecna. I saw a lot of people like being very very bad about that perk. They're like, this perk isn't that good. Why don't you just run Bamboozle? Well, because some killers, 2 in particular, can use the effects very well without the downside being that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Because Chucky and Xenomorph especially, because she has the
Detonation bolt.
Yeah,
self-destruct bolt.
Self-destruct bolt. And if you're getting stunned with Xenomorph, you're playing Xenomorph wrong.
And actually, like, Unknown has, like, obscure game cartridge for, like, 25 seconds as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some killers who can, like, use that perk fine, and some who just can't. Like, I don't expect Trapper to be running that perk. You know?
It'd be funny, though.
But it's like, I want more perks like that. More perks that don't work on that aren't designed to work on every killer. I want perks that work with M2s also. Please give me more perks that work with M2s.
Oh, absolutely. Like, you know, I remember making comparisons between, like, best example, Surge and Eruption. Surge and Eruption work very differently. Like, with Eruption, you get, like, it has no limit in distance. And you get the, like, regression regardless of whether or not you down a survivor with M2 or M1. And it's great.
Yeah. It's good. And then, honestly, if they brought Jolt back, or Surge, or whatever it's called these days, if they brought it back to its cooldown era, but they made it so it works on any down, I don't think it would be that bad.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Chucky right now is in a rough spot because, and once again, this is my bias showing. He's in a rough spot right now because none of the regression perks really work that great on him, except for maybe Pain Res. Otherwise, he can't really use a lot of the other ones because of how slow he is. He can't really go around kicking gens, so none of the kicking ones work really, and that leaves Jolt, and that's about it really, other than Pain Res.
Yeah.
And he can't use Jolt because he's an M2 killer. That's where he gets most of his downs from. So it's like he doesn't really have a gen regression option.
Yeah, there's just very few options just for him specifically.
Yeah, which I think is fine. I just wish there was like more variety in that sense. It's just like with Huntress. It's like Huntress can't run Surge. She can't really go around popping gens because she's so slow. Like that's why a lot of Huntresses run Aura Reading because it builds into their what their kit is designed around.
Mm-hmm. Which then also feeds into like certain stereotypes. All Huntresses run Aura. All Huntresses like just hold M2 kind of a thing. And, there's just other, stereotypes that just feed into, like, terrible situations that, like, you just have to deal with it the best way you can.
Yeah, like the Nemesis tunneling, or Weskers that only hug tech, and,
Oh, no, Wesker's being, all Wesker players being, like, bug exploiters.
Oh, bug exploit. Or,
having shit ping.
I'll Chucky scamper braining. I don't think there's really an unknown stereotype right now. I don't play them enough to know.
I mean, like, I can think of one stereotype with a specific cosmetic combo, and it, like, they scare me.
There's
as an unknown player, they scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, for Chucky, there's if you run the Stitch Chucky scan, you're apparently a tryhard. I wasn't aware of that stereotype until very recently.
I didn't know that was a stereotype. I just see Chucky and I think, oh god, not this plastic bastard again.
The stereotypes for Chucky are if they're wearing the Stitch cosmetic, they're a tryhard. If they're wearing the full bloody cosmetic, they actually know what they're doing. If they're playing Tiffany, they actually know what they're doing, but they'll goof around with you. If they're wearing base Chucky, they just suck. I'm kidding.
They're brand new. Be nice to them.
It's really funny. Just how the stereotypes come from even just the skins.
Yeah. It is genuinely kind of hilarious in that regard.
Or like Plague. I mean, Plague, like in general, has a stereotype of being like try-hard comp players who like macro the game out 100% all the time and have no chill. I don't know where that started, but I didn't even know it was a stereotype till like a year ago.
It's just like, it feels like you're... But this also like comes to the time of like, all like killers run the same exact build and there's no variety. And it's like... Well, like, it came from aughts. Yeah, totally.
It's not even just that. It's just like, okay, all the killers run the same builds and there's no variety. All right, yeah. So if we deconstruct that, let's why would the killers be running these builds? That's what the question needs to be asked, right? Same with survivors. Like, if there's a meta and the survivors are all running the same build, like, as much as I enjoy variety myself, don't get me wrong, but it's like I understand why they're all running the meta. Of course they are. It's the meta. Like, why wouldn't they be bringing the thing that helps them win the most? And on top of that, it's like, for like lack of variety, well, for killer in particular, if you find a killer who's not running meta and you beat them, you probably had a good experience with that game. Not to say every time, but a lot of times, they're not running meta and you are, more statistically speaking, they're probably going to lose.
Yeah.
But, if you win that game, then it was a good game for you, more than likely. And because of how humans work, negativity bias, you're not going to remember that game as much as the 4 others where they were running pop, pain, res, whatever the fuck is meta in the other 2 slots right now.
Pop, pain, res, deadlock, no ed, no way out, like...
So the negativity bias is going to sink in, and as a result of the negativity bias, every time you see that, you're going to have a negative reaction, and I feel like that's what a lot of people have, and that's where some of the entitlement in toxicity comes from. I think a lot of it also comes in the sense of I don't like talking about MMR because I am in the camp of I don't think it matters that much. Because I will still get like 200-hour Andys sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't think MMR helped with the entitlements for a lot of reasons. And I think
Oh, it like boosted a lot of like egos too, which was
yes,
crazy.
that's what I was. That was the big point I was going to make with it is that even if MMR was working perfectly, I still think it boosted a lot of egos in the sense of because you're now going up against people in theory going up against people of your same skill level. Um, it means that every match is going to be a bit of a struggle sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
or most of the time, at least once again in theory. Um, so as a result, you feel like when you win that match, I am better than them. I have earned my spot. I'm therefore at the top of MMR, and then you somehow get this entitlement situation of I can say whatever I want because I'm better than everybody else here. So I definitely and with it being hidden, there's no way to back it up or disprove it or unclaim it or anything like that. And I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah, and like the whole purpose of MMR was just to like effectively separate fresh installs from like the 10,000 hour like VPNing Russian huntress that like knows all aspects of the video game and knows your whole IP address and is living inside of your freaking brain. Like that's what it's intended to do, and that's what MMR is always supposed to do. But
Mm-hmm.
like, I like it's not supposed to work the way we're supposed to think it works, which sucks.
Yeah, and if you want a game that doesn't have MMR right now, there is one modern video game that doesn't have it at the moment, and that is X Defiant. I can't play that game right now.
Because it's all full of sweatlords and tryhards, I imagine.
Yes. Well, no. That's the thing with it. Because it's not. It's actually a lot of casual players, but there's always the one.
Oh yeah, it just takes one motherfucker to ruin it, basically.
Yeah, it's not that I can't have fun. It's just like it is very difficult as someone. And don't get me wrong. Yes, I should get good. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying it's like if someone is so significantly better than me that I can barely move throughout the time I'm playing the video game, I'm probably going to get a little frustrated. It's nothing against
Yeah,
them. It's just
yeah, especially with like people like you and me. Like we work jobs that have shitloads of hours put into it because we have bills to pay. Like we can make the joke of like, oh, this guy's such a sweat lord. He probably lives in his mom's basement, which is like what fucking ever at this point. I mean, I'm like I've had people say, "Oh, do you still live in your mom's basement? You sound like a little boy." And it's like
what?
I pay car insurance. Like I've had people genuinely like insult my voice and be like, "You sound like a little boy. Get off your mom's like Twitch account." And it's like I pay car insurance, man. Like where are you coming from with that? Put that shit away.
I have been married and divorced. I pay car insurance. I pay my bills, my taxes. I've been to jail. I've lived a life, man. I'm not fucking.
I just like got for working like upwards of 40 to 45 hours a week. I just got a $25 Jersey Mike's gift card from my boss today.
It's just, yeah. Like people complain about MMR a lot, and while I don't think it's perfect, it never will be. I don't think it's possible for it to be perfect. In a
And
game,
that's okay, I think. Like in a game like this that is just so like RNG based, we literally have two killers that is RNG the power, basically.
yeah, and once again, like MMR does its best, but I hate this idea that people are like I'm high MMR. If you played against the survivors or the killers I play against, you wouldn't survive with what you're doing. Man, like I win probably 90, and this isn't me like tooting my own horn, but yeah, I have video documentation. I win like 90% of my matches.
Yeah.
Like my MMR either MMR doesn't work, which means your argument means nothing, or MMR does work and I am good at the game, which means your argument also means nothing.
Yeah.
Um, but I think MMR, like I said this when MMR was announced, they shouldn't have told us it got brought into the game.
Oh, I say that too. Like I say the exact same thing. They should have never said that MMR was introduced to DVD.
I feel like if they didn't say anything, I think people might have noticed, but no one would have cared.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have had like the egos we're seeing right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's another thing with Dead by Daylight. It's also very. It's not just a Dead by Daylight problem, but I notice it more in DBD. This game builds egos very easily.
Yeah, and I can give you a very good example from this morning. I played one match of Survivor, and I get a Spirit. I hate Spirit. I think she sucks. She's a whole accessibility issue for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I am playing in the Masquerade, event. And, she's slugging for the 4K. Okay, fine, whatever. I kind of want a DC, but I don't want to because I'm getting a tome challenge done. So I try to crawl away to a far corner of the map and hope to God she can't find the David that's with me. She does. She catches him. She hooks him. I get up because of an event, modifier. And I hide, and I heal up, and I can't get to the exit gate. And then I try to get to the exit gate, and she has all 4 stacks, no way out. I'm screwed. She downs me and then starts humping me on the floor, and I think, damn, what the fuck?
We had that whole situation, and, I don't want to bring up names, but the context will be enough for anyone to know who I'm talking about. We had that whole situation with the whole Vecna thing the other day. I didn't really give my thoughts on it. I think people were being a bit too dramatic with it. I still think it was weird, but, it is what it is. But the in a situation like that where like a killer would down you and then just start WSing you, or like when a survivor will like drop a pallet and then just start instantly teabagging you, people can tell me all they want. Oh, it's just a strategy to get into your opponent's head. It can be, but like, is it though? Is it really? Like, are you really only doing that to get into the killer's head or the survivor's head? Like, honestly speaking, or are you doing it just to show that you're in a position of power and you're just like, haha, na boo boo, you can't get me? Or
I mean, I've done it because I was angry. Like, I was just fucking miserable. Like, fuck.
Yeah, fair enough. It's just, yeah. But the whole the whole like bolstering of egos thing. It's like, if we're honest with ourselves, DBD is not a very difficult game.
It's not. If you put it down to its bare bones, it's, oh my god, unga bunga. I need to punch this thing until it works. Until it works, and then, oh my god, I turn on 2 gates, and oh my god, here's the killer. I have to run in circles for like 60 seconds at least, or I'm dog shit, and then you get face camped and slapped on hook, and all your teammates leave you to die. Like, that's what it is at the end of the day. It's just circles and you beating the shit out of other shit for no reason.
It's just like, and then on the killer side, it's like, oh, you find person, you chase them down in straight line, and you hit them. That's all. At the end of the day, there's more to it, but at the end of the day, that's what the game is.
You find survivor, follow survivor, hit survivor twice, put a survivor on hook, find another survivor, repeat.
The most mechanically intensive thing is like Wesker hug teching, which isn't even intentional.
Yeah.
Which isn't me saying it should go away, by the way. I'm just saying it's unintentional.
It should never go away. Like,
no, I think it's fine.
You've seen what they've done with Blight, so like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Like, I'm not even saying it should go away. I'm just saying it's not intentional. I'm just making that point. But like, for some reason, because of how easy it can be to win at this game and to be moderately above average, it just like makes people think they are like God's gift to the world just for being good at Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
And there's nothing against the people who put the hours in. Don't get me wrong. I love Ots. I love hens. Like, don't get me wrong about that. But at the same time, like, we just need to chill the fuck out with like us being good at the video game.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've seen pro players at League of Legends and Valorant and Rainbow Six and Apex, and it's like, I couldn't imagine people like the quote pro players of Dead by Daylight doing half the stuff some of these people do.
And like for some of that, a lot of it is coordination. What makes Survivor strong is coordination. Mm-hmm. And what makes Killer strong is exploiting mistakes. Like it's all about exploiting mistakes from either side.
Yeah. And I think that that's part of the reason why White Killer can be as frustrating as I've said this before, where I think most of Killer is capitalizing on survivor mistakes.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of stuff like, background player, 200% background player sucked because, you made the mistake of not looking within a 20-meter radius of a down survivor on a pallet. Like, that's what made it so frustrating.
But because a lot of Killer is capitalizing on survivor mistakes. If you're going against someone who's good enough to not make any mistakes, it can feel like there's nothing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, it just makes the game more frustrating than it needs to be. And then same with Survivor. It's kind of the opposite with Survivor. It's like you're not really capitalizing on the killer's mistakes. Survivor, a lot of times, if you lose, not all the time, I'm not going to claim it's all the time, but it comes down to you didn't make any mistakes. So when you're in a position where you get down very quickly, you can blame the map, you can blame the RNG, you can blame the killer, blah, blah, blah. But, most of the time, I'm not saying every time, but most of the time, it was something you could have done better.
Oh, yeah. Or, sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes more often than not, you wonder why your teammate didn't do something different.
Yeah. And I've made this claim before, but if your idea of satisfaction or fun in any game, not just Dead by Daylight, but Dead by Daylight in particular, is determined by something someone else is doing, you might be fighting a losing battle with that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, solo queue is frustrating as hell. I was playing on PTB today against a Sadako, and I had someone blocking the TV from me from putting my tape in. I don't get upset, but you could probably hear me like visually or visibly getting mad at them.
Yeah.
Move. But I get it. Solo queue sucks, but I've made the statement before. Show me a game where solo queue doesn't suck.
Yeah, like it's so rare. Like it's like finding like a needle in a haystack. Like that just sucks.
And I think behavior can definitely fix that. Many people made the suggestion of adding a stay as a team option, which I think would be great. Adding the friending people option to the in game somewhere. Although I think that could probably be abused in some ways.
Oh yeah.
But regardless, obviously, if you want to opt into it, I think it would be fine.
But also, if you want people to if you want to incentivize people to. DBD players are simple creatures. We just want blood points.
Well, there's an old Donkey video, and I brought this up in the Unknown podcast, where we were talking about this is pretty much this exact topic, but it's like the secret that most co-op games have to make people work as a team isn't that they're teammate oriented or oh, you need to do this. It's that they trick people into working together.
Yeah, that's what it is.
There was when Overwatch 2 was first getting announced, rest in peace PvE mode, but they showcased a bunch of the abilities, and one of the abilities on Reinhardt was when you shield somebody, you heal. So if you're blocking damage for your teammate, you're healing yourself. So it's tricking you to protect your teammate by giving you a benefit.
Yeah, it's about the feedback loop, and in part it's why certain killers just make my monkey brain go, oh my god, this is awesome. It's part of the reason why I was instantly enamored with Unknown. And if you get a visible tangible response to a particular way you played, then you're gonna want to do it again.
Yeah. And, I've mentioned this with perks before. I think that's a problem with a lot of perks. I think perks I think almost every blindness perk in the game isn't necessarily bad. I think blindness is actually an okay status effect that people overlook sometimes. The problem with blindness is there's no feedback. You have no idea if it did anything.
Unless you're running third seal and then you get an actual token counting system, but still.
Well, even then, though, you don't know if the blind... what if they're not running any aura reading?
Mm-hmm.
Then you have no idea. It's the same problem I think exhaustion effects have, even though that one's a little bit more, 9 times out of 10, someone's bringing at least one. But there's no real feedback that it did its job or anything. Same with like Oblivious. Same with like lower terror radius things. Like unless you're like going out of your way to pay attention and know like every situation, like there's really no way for you to know if it was doing its job correctly. Same thing with like
yeah, but
go
like if you play like a particular character for a long enough time, and then say like you go from playing like from Huntress to like from Huntress to Wesker, let's say, and like your tiny teeny weeny little Terradius and Lullaby are not represented by an actual genuine like Terradius. And I felt this when I tried to play as Wesker when he first came out like 2 years ago, which is a horrible thing to think about. Like with all that, like, you know, I felt people were fleeing from me before I ever saw them. Like, they were scared of the terror radius because of it just being a huge 40-meter terror radius.
Speaking of that, can Nurse have a 40-meter terror radius, please?
I think she deserves that, especially now that, like, Starstruck Nurse is, like, dead and buried 6 feet under. Holy shit.
No hate to Nurse players, but I don't think it would severely nerf the character. I just really think she deserves a 40-meter terror radius. If Wesker can have one, she can have one. She can go through the walls for God's. Anyways,
yeah.
But like, yeah, I think that's like I've said this before, but like Gearhead's another one. Even like before it's changed, I still think it was an okay perk. I think it's way better than it was. But my biggest issue with Gearhead, even now, is that sometimes it'll go off and I don't happen to be looking in the direction or paying attention to my cooldowns. So I have no idea it went off. All they would have to do is just add a sound effect.
Yeah.
And I feel like we would see Gearhead more often.
Oh, yeah.
You know, same thing with like Mindbreaker. Mindbreaker's another one where Mindbreaker's a little different because you can know when it's working, because if you walk up to a gen and someone gets off it, you're like, oh, okay, they're exhausted. But yeah, I don't know. Smaller terror radius ones are probably the big offenders on Killer, and blindness and oblivious effects. Because I mean, you'll notice hindered, you'll notice haste, you'll notice all these other things. But,
absolutely.
But you know, the feedback thing though with playing as a team, because I think that definitely plays into the entitlement issue, because it's like, once again, Survivor is a very selfish role at the end of the day, at least the way a lot of people play it. And I think part of that is there's really no feedback for playing as a team. Other than, oh, we all got out, right? But at the end of the day, if you are the only person to get out and you don't know the other 3 people, do you really care that much? Like, what is your incentive to and it's not me trying to be like psychopathic or anything, but like, you know, like legitimately, let's say there's 3 people on hook at in game, the gate is open, you're sitting at the gate. What incentive do you realistically have to go and try and save somebody?
You wouldn't normally.
Right. You know, I'll do it because I'm like, you know what, I don't care. But
I'll do it because who the fuck knows what's gonna happen? Will I die and cause, you know, a 3K to be a 4K, or will this turn out to be just a 1K at the end of the night?
But from an optimization standpoint, which is a whole other discussion, but from an optimization and like from a selfish perspective, why wouldn't you just leave?
Yeah.
And because there's no incentive unless you bring a perk. Well, no, actually, never mind. They got rid of that. Never mind. I was gonna say, I mean, there's a perk that gives you blood points. Never mind. That's gone now.
I ran no Left Behind even with the blood point, even without the even without wanting the blood point incentive, because you just unhooked a lot faster. Just period.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, like, when it did have the blood points, though, that was the incentive. It's just like how barbecue incentivized killers to not tunnel out the gate. I actually disagree with it not incentivizing tunneling, because you could just tunnel one guy out and then hook the other 3 people anyways. But it's like, you know, that's another problem. A lot of the issues this game has, behavior doesn't really. And don't get me wrong, they've been very, very good about it as of the past year or so. But they haven't really like tackled a lot of the issues this game has on both sides directly. A lot of times it's a perk that kind of tackles the issues.
Yeah.
Which, you know, you could argue is, on one hand, cool, because it means that if you're really having an issue with something, you can choose to deal with it if you want. On the other hand, it feels kind of like you're forced to bring these things if you want to deal with those issues.
Yeah. like, for example, and this is the most egregious one, when Dredge came out, it came out technically with 4 perks
Oh,
when
right.
Boon Meta was a thing!
Shattered Hope, right. I forgot that perk existed.
Shattered Hope, more like shattered dog shit. Like, there's just no incentive to run it anymore. Like, especially after 6.1.0.
Well, yeah, and, once again, let's say you do bring Shattered Hope, right? What if they don't bring any boons?
Yeah, it's just a dead perk slot.
Yeah. And it's like, why would you take that risk? And that runs into the problem of like, oh, why do people bring the meta? The thing with the Dead by Daylight meta is that most of the meta perks are perks that are good in 99% of situations.
It's consistency against chaos, basically.
Yeah, and that's one thing I think we noticed with Chaos Shuffle, which, please bring it back. Please make it permanent.
I need it to be permanent, because, like, sure, there's broken add-ons. Like, you're gonna get, Eerie Tag, C33 Blights, or, like, all that other stuff. You're gonna get, like, double half, like, Huntress and stuff, which, sure, like, that's like, the one thing you can get consistently, but, like, you don't know if you're gonna get, like, what is more or less best described as, like, complete and utter dog shit of, like, a perk loadout, or you'll just keep gambling, and then you just get the most awesome goated build of all time. And
I think if they do bring it back, a couple changes I do want to see with it is I think survivor items should be random. I think killer add-ons should be random, and I think
map offerings should be disabled.
Well, yeah, map offer. I think that should be happening in any game mode, including the normal one. I think there should be an option on the killer side to select a random killer.
That'd be cool.
I don't like. I heard some people saying the killer should be random too. It's like no, like no. But I do I do kind of think for the killer player, if they want to be a random killer, I think there should be an option. Honestly, I'd be cool if that was in the normal game. Just an option to like randomly select any killer you wanted. And to anyone saying, "Oh, you can just use a third party for that," you could. It would just be nice if it was in the real game.
Yeah.
And then I think survivor items and killer add-ons could be random too, and I know that could lead to some issues because I know some killer add-ons like directly nerf the killer, and some survivor items and item add-ons are just like absolutely terrible. But I think it like fits that kind of mode anyways. Personally, like I mean, if I'm playing like Pyramid Head and I only get like what are some of his terrible ones? All of them.
Yeah.
The one that causes hemorrhage when they're like on a trail, and like one that and the egg or something. Like if I get those, it's like okay, all right, whatever. It is what it is. It's all random anyways.
Yeah. But then like you'll get killers that just have just completely abysmal like perks, like the Nemesis, where he only congratulations BHVR, you designed the only killer with 3 viable perks. In its entire lifespan.
You mean add-ons?
Add-ons.
Yeah. Okay. I was confused. I was like eruption.
No, like you designed the only killer that has just 3 viable add-ons ever.
Me and Horser were talking about that. I did that interview so long ago now.
Did he tell you about the minimal distance you get like from Liquor Tongue?
Yeah, it's like 1.6 seconds or something.
It's not 1.6. It's like so terrible. Like in instances, I made that. In instances with like where I was like testing with like the Hattie in the video, like he got like more distance with Liquor Tongue than without. It's abysmal.
It's once again, I think Pyramid Head and Nemesis both have the same problem with add-ons. I've said this before. It's not necessarily that the ones that everyone brings are like really good. It's that the other ones are just that bad or affect a part of the power that no one cares about. like
yeah, and it's awful. It's terrible. It's abysmal dog shit.
Like Pyramid Head's a really good example, and same with Nemesis is even more so. But Pyramid Head, like everyone's like, oh, only Pyramid Heads only bring the ranged add-ons. The reason they only bring the ranged add-ons is because it's the only add-ons that affect his M2.
Yeah, and like give him like a little bit more anti-W.
Yeah, and then with Nemesis, me and Horser were actually thinking about it because we never really thought about it. Other than Liquor Tongue, there isn't a single add-on that affects the M2.
Yeah, no, there's nothing.
All of the add-ons?
Actually, wrong.
Which one?
freaking Nemesis Alpha Parasite that gives you obliviousness for 60 seconds.
For hitting them with a whip?
For contaminating them for the first time. And it sucks a lot because for some reason they nerfed it to make it so that you can end the oblivious status effect early by vaccinating yourself. The only other killer that has this is Freddy when you wake yourself up.
Why?
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't understand.
What is the
point? I said there's a purple Chucky add-on called Mirror Shards that I bring up a lot. Do you know what Mirror Shards does?
No. What does it do?
It lets Chucky see and hear the footsteps that he leaves behind. It's a purple.
Yeah, let's just give myself schizophrenia while playing the killer, I guess.
Oh my god. I tell people all the time, it's like it really wouldn't be that bad if I didn't hear the footsteps too. I've said this so many times, but why is it a purple? Why isn't it a brown? It's like a learning tool add-on.
Oh my goodness gracious.
It makes so little sense. I don't know who designs the add-ons. Don't get me wrong, sometimes they hit it out of the park. Other times
they'll hit it out of the park, like, with basically Release Bright. Cause, like, sure, he has, like, Crow and, like, original Rat and Crow. Awesome, fantastic, incredible. Original Soul Chemical and Vigo's Journal was amazing. Currently, it's just terrible. Like, it made cool and interesting things just be one-dimensional. Like, stop! Cease! I'm gonna get a fucking cease and desist!
It's just... Yeah, and and then there was the whole fiasco, which I really hope they eventually come back on this. Nemesis in particular. Oh, we noticed that players were using Marvin's Blood a lot. Rather than look into why they were doing it, we're just going to nerf it. Because...
And now, like, and now people who, like, play Nemesis consistently will always run Marvin's Blood. Like, well, I have like 2,000 hours over on this killer, and I ran Marvin's Blood nearly every single lobby I've ever been to, except for when I was first planning and learning him.
Yeah, and once again, if the add-on was actually like super good, like let me rephrase that. If the add-on was actually like super powerful and like really OP and oppressive, sure, go for it, nerf it, I get it. But if the only reason you nerfed it was because it was brought all the time, maybe look into the reasons why before you... Like, that's always been my problem with behavior, and once again, I think they're getting much better about this.
Yeah, it's what we call a spreadsheet developer.
Yeah, because I once again, Chucky's the thing I know the most, so I bring this up a lot. There's an add-on that the Chucky community has been very decisive on at the moment, and it's rat poison. What rat poison does is when you slice and dice, you see survivors' auras are in a 12-meter radius around you for 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
It is his best add-on for a lot of reasons, to the points where a lot of us want it nerfed.
Oh yeah.
It like 100% deserves it. I think it should be changed in some way and all this stuff. The thing is though, the one argument I constantly hear is if they nerf that he only has one good or two good add-ons. That's kind of true. But I don't think that should stop them from doing it. I think they should buff the other add-ons in that case.
Yeah, like just some like nerfs and buffs are just numbers adjustments. I'm pretty sure like things would be fine if it was like a 3-second turn into C21, 3 seconds of like aura read.
Well, even then because it does it the full duration of the slice and dice too, and then it's 5 seconds after. The problem with it is like the counterplay to slice and dice is often to try and juke it, like behind line of sight. But if I can see your aura, that doesn't matter.
Oh yeah,
that's the biggest problem with it. That's why I think it should make them scream. And that would actually kind of buff the new perk that just came out with Laura. Speaking of new perk and getting back to the player entitlement thing, have you been hearing things from the Singularity community at the moment?
Yeah, I've been hearing very like divisive things. I have a friend who is a Singularity main, and he says I will stop playing DBD if like this goes through because like this just makes him stupid easy now. Like, there's a difference. Like, he says, like, there's a difference between, like, sure, like, making a killer more approachable, like we had with basically, like, Rework Hillbilly and Overdrive. And then there's just making it too easy to play as the killer, and then you get shit like Spirit, basically.
The thing is, though, I have a Singularity main. They're actually my mod in chat. They and a lot, even like Coco, and I was playing Singularity today. I think lowering the skill floor was fine. I think the skill ceiling is still there for Larry. That's the
It
thing.
is there, yeah.
And I think it's perfectly okay what they did. It messed with my muscle memory a little bit, but after like a couple games of it, I got used to it. I don't think it's making him like dog shit easy or anything like that. I think he's still like I said, he's still a macro game killer where a lot of the skill expression comes from knowing where to place your pods, knowing when to enter the pods, when to teleport, when not to. If you need to overdrive at this loop, if you shouldn't. I think checking on your boxes, knowing when to cam those, knowing when not to, knowing when the EMPs are up and when they're not. I think a lot of the skill expression is still there, and nothing against your friend or anything like that, but I think some people are being a little too gatekeepy about it.
And that's like a fair and valid point, but some people are saying that like now he's just too stupid easy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's overtuned.
Right. Well, I don't think they went that far with it though, personally.
I mean, I don't play Singularity. Like, I know very little about Singularity. I remember like getting his Adept and getting his power related achievement and not picking him up since then. Like, and that's what I do for basically all the killers I will buy. Like, I still have to get one more Vecna like achievement, but that's like for a way later date when like I'm not grinding for like my 2 killers to get, a bunch of cobblers right now. And it's like it's all that.
Yeah.
And this is like such a good time to talk about this actually, because have you seen the Twitter like screenshots of people, bringing survivor puddings, bringing escape cakes, basically bringing nothing.
What on
anniversary
for the anniversary?
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I will say. If they're doing it and this is the issue with it, is intention is hard to know. If someone's doing it because it's their first match or something and they don't have cobblers to bring, more power to you. However, I will say that if you were bringing a map offering or a Mori to the events and you had at least some form of blood point option, once again, I mean this in the nicest way possible, there's a special place in hell for you.
Your mama kind of thing.
Like why? Like why? That's my question, is why? Oh, I want to win. Oh, well then go play the normal game. It's right there. Oh, but I want the extra blood points. So do we, so bring a cake. Like, it benefits no one for you not to. It's such a weird thing. And, you could argue that's entitlement. And maybe it is, but at the same time, you could also argue they're being entitled by trying to ruin everyone else's fun for having, like, their own fun. And I think that's the biggest issue with this whole discussion is, like, fun is a subjective thing.
Yeah, and fun is what you make of it too.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, because I do xenomorph fishing streams where I will sit in a tunnel for most of the game and run out and dragon's grip a gin, hop back in the tunnel, wait for someone to hit it, pop out and M1 them, put them on a hook, go back in my tunnel and wait. I find that extremely fun. Some people despise me when I do that.
Oh yeah, and then I'll just start doing like mortar shots on unknown where I'll take myself to Irie on purpose, or like I'll try to take myself to Garden of Joy and I'll just sit at the top floor of main building and I try to snipe people from across the map, basically.
The pirate ship. That's what I call it. I call it pirate ship unknown.
I went against a streamer and like he was like, "Oh my god, he's a mortar." It was great. Like, that's fun and like it's cool because it also just lets me practice. Like, I have a killer I can basically throw on and not give a shit about throwing.
Mm-hmm. But it's like, once again, like I said earlier, if you're relying on the other side to do something for you to have fun in a specific way, you're fighting a losing battle. If the killer
Yeah.
wants to do those dumb things like the mortar thing, or like with me with the fishing, or like even like chuck spots, I bring this up a lot too. People are like, how can you find that fun? You're just standing there. It makes me feel like I outsmarted someone when I didn't. That's why. Um,
Yeah, and it's like, you do it as Survivor, why is it a problem with Chucky? it's basically like that's like that's like basically the other aspect of his power for the most part.
the third person camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing a whole video on that actually. Um, but it's like, and same thing with the kill. Like if the killer brings Noed, it's like you have all the right in the world to be upset that the killer brought Noed as a second chance. You have all the right in the world to be upset about that. You don't have the right to make it a personal attack against them, or call them names, or report them on Steam, or whatever else the kids do these days. Like,
Or like to even the most drastic and like extreme measures, doxing and swatting.
oh god, yeah, that's yeah.
Like, holy shit, that is a new level of genuine I don't touch grass and I hate everyone around me kind of a situation.
But I would also love to see the stats, because we have no real way of knowing this. But I'm curious if like there's a link between toxicity slash entitlements versus, I don't want to say gameplay time, but like other hobbies or other things people do in their lives. Because I can't fathom someone who like works a 9 to 5, coming home, playing Dead by Daylight, getting super upset at somebody playing the game and doxing them. I can't fathom it.
Yeah, no, I can't fathom it either. Like, who has the time and like mental effort and just general like effort to want to do that?
Yeah, not to say it never happens, because it probably does, unfortunately. But
Oh, it absolutely does. Just in general, like I've heard of like horror stories. People would also DDoS streamers.
No. I meant like people working a 9 to 5 who will like dox somebody. Like, I'm not saying it probably has happened, but like, or is it legitimately only the terminally online people?
Yeah.
Which, technically speaking, like if you want to look at the definition, I'm terminally online because it's like all I do when I'm off work, but it's also kind of part of my second job. So,
Yeah, same here.
like people are like, oh, well then don't read the forums or go on Twitter. Half of my job is keeping up with what the community is thinking and doing. I kind of have to.
Yeah, like,
But
and just trying your best to not sound like a deranged lunatic sometimes.
But there's the whole. I studied sociology in college, and it's not me trying to flex. Just trying to get the credentials a little bit. There's the whole idea of anonymity. That's the thing that often gets brought up as the reason why. And
oh, absolutely.
That's not the only thing, though. They've done studies on like road rage. It's not just anonymity. A lot of it has to do with the power you're given. Because the thing with like road rage, for example, the reason why it's very common is because not only do you have the anonymity of they can't really see you, because to them, when you're driving, you're kind of just the car. You're also in a 2-ton metal thing moving at 70 miles an hour.
70 to 90 miles an hour, yeah. And like, this just makes me think of a recent study I heard where like in a study of like who has the worst road rage, Dodge Ram truck drivers.
Yeah.
Have the worst road rage, even amongst other truck drivers.
I drive a Chevy. I drive a 1996 Chevy.
I drive like in the streets of like Pennsylvania, and like I hate Ford F-150s specifically. They will have their floodlights on me and breathing down my stupid little white Toyota's butt. And I wish them nothing but the worst.
I only bring up the Chevy because I'm like, that thing is so light and small, someone could breathe on it and it'll tip over. I cannot be mad when I'm driving.
Cow tipping, except it's just Chevy tipping.
It's just... Oh man! Anyone who knows what a '96 Chevy looks like, trust me, it's a paperweight. Sometimes, if it's too windy outside, I'm scared to drive it. Like a lot.
You'll start flying away.
Oh my god! Like the tires are fine. It's just sometimes it feels like it's about to tip. It never will, but it feels like it every time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It can, and it probably does sometimes.
But bringing that point to Dead by Daylight, it's like the the idea of like being in the power position, especially once the game is over, is, you're getting upset and mad at the other opponent by starting the debate, starting the argument, and as a result of starting it, you feel like you're in the power position, the power role of I am in control of the situation now.
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, when humans do anything, it is usually to get control. Once again, as much as a lot of us like to think that we are above that, and that's not me, I'm better than that. Humans are dumb creatures. I'm dumb. You're dumb. Everyone's dumb. Okay, everyone is. Our brains are very stupid sometimes. We have sent people to the moon, but we still look at a shiny thing in awe and amazement sometimes. All right.
Yeah.
But it's keeping that control and getting it is all people want. And so when they lose that control by losing the game or getting tunneled out or going against a killer they don't like or getting map RNG they don't like, anything like that, the way they get that control back oftentimes is by insulting the other person or doxing them, or especially doxing them. That's like the ultimate control. You just, as terrible as it is, it's you're literally invading their real life at that point.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. And we talked earlier, if there's anything the devs can do about it. And the more we talk about it, like, there really isn't. There's just, like, the devs can try to encourage teamwork. The devs can try to balance the game as best they can. But at this point, I feel like it's so ingrained with how the game's DNA is, there's not much they can do. Without, like, just banning people, which banning and reporting systems have their own problems. We all complain, the banning report system doesn't do anything. Part of that is just because, like,
they don't do the follow-up.
Well, it's not just the follow-up. It's also, like, the false bans and reports also don't help. The fact that they probably don't have an actual person doing it for probably obvious reasons. They probably get so many.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them for that. It's just like with YouTube. It's like, people are like, why doesn't YouTube like manually look at all the reports and stuff they get?
Because there's just too much.
There's like
too much.
It's like, I forget the statistics. I think it's like 2 million videos get uploaded every 5 minutes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's something insane like that. It's like, of course they don't have a real person looking them all over. That would be impossible.
It would, just straight up be freaking impossible.
It's like, oh, well, they have all the money in the world. That doesn't matter.
It's not like they have all the manpower in the world.
Yeah, but I think it's part of it with the reporting and ban system. That's why I don't really blame most games for having, like, shitty report and ban systems.
Or just having it be automated, like, 90% of the time.
Yeah, now, don't get me wrong, like, if someone, like, wants a manual review or whatever, like, I feel like it should be justified for them to be able to manually review it and give a reason for why it, like, didn't pass or whatever. That's fine. And I think they need to be better about that. But at the same time, that probably also gets flooded too.
Oh, yeah.
So it's why I don't blame them too much for that. But that's really all they can do at the end of the day. Is try to take the bans and reports as much as they can and, do what they can about it.
Just take it as they come as much as they can.
Yeah, and then, at the end of the day, it's like sometimes, what if it's something that's not necessarily in TOS? Like, stream sniping is one of those things. It's like, that's not behavior. Behavior can't do anything about someone stream sniping, right?
Mm-hmm.
Twitch can. But behavior, that's not in their TOS. I don't think it is. I would doubt it is.
If it was a thing, then, like, they should start banning all, like, people who want to, like, snipe their friends. Like, I get it. Like, I do it.
Yeah. And, that's the other thing is, like, context matters. It's like, and then there's other things in the game that just aren't bannable. Like, technically speaking, as much as we don't like it, killers slugging for the 4K and, like, leaving everyone on the ground for all 4 minutes, technically speaking, is not against TOS. I'm not saying it's a good thing to do.
But, like, you're gonna get, like, some really nasty looks, and you're gonna be shamed for it publicly, and I think that's entirely a valid thing to have happen.
Right. But, it's technically not a reportable thing. It's just like with camping and tunneling, and The one thing that I know of that is actually bannable that I see a lot of people do report for that's like an in-game action is body blocking, and I don't mean like survivors body blocking the killer. I mean like body
Body
blocking.
blocking a person in a corner until endgame collapse.
Yeah, things like that. That is technically speaking griefing, because you're not even allowing them to play the game, and you're not doing it for some form of gameplay, which is just yeah. So
Yeah.
I think stuff like that is fine to ban people for. And once again, like I said, with the 4-man slugs, it's like, should it be bannable? Probably, but as of now, it's not in the TOS. So once again, all we can do is really I hate using the word, but shame the people who do it and kind of hope they don't do it again.
Yeah, that's basically all you can do is just, pray to God they're not gonna just do it again, but
Yeah, and
we're creatures of habits, if it makes us happy, we'll do it. If it makes us feel powerful, we'll do it.
yeah, and
like
I was just gonna say that this leads into another thing. I don't want to name names with this, but content creators. Do you think content creators, not all of them obviously, but do you think there are some content creators that kind of exacerbate the issue of entitlement in the community?
Yes, to some small degree, but also they also sometimes unknowingly perpetuate and propagate it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes on purpose they do the same thing.
Right. And I would agree. I do think some of the ones that yeah, I'll name them since I'm doing I'm talking about them in a good way, but Spooky Loops I think is a good one. People would argue, oh well, he doesn't try hard enough to like stop people from harassing the people he talks about and things like that. I think he does the job he can do, and he's doing it for the purpose of showing people how ridiculous people can get, right? I don't think he's doing it maliciously. Hell, most of his videos are demonetized. Like, he's not clearly not doing it for the money. He's clearly not doing it for necessarily the clout or anything like that. He's doing it legitimately to just call out certain specific people without giving away exactly who they are. If you take that and try to specifically find who it is, that's a you problem.
Yeah.
But the people who do that kind of content and don't even try to hide the people they're talking about are the ones that I kind of turn a side eye to.
Yeah, and I've had that happen to me. Like, I have, some like issues, and people will just point and laugh, and it's like, wow, look at this stupid idiot, and it's like, damn, like you just caught me at a really awful time sometimes.
Yeah, that's not as with most things in life, context matters. Friend of the channel, Kaiser, that's how they got found by a lot of people was an Aaron Duke video about them. They were very upset about a flashlight squad, and there was a lot of rage in the clip and things like that. And the context was it was their father's death anniversary, so they were already a little upset about that, and feeling in a very emotional state. So, and they didn't take it anywhere personally after the match or anything. They kind of just let it go afterwards. And Aaron was on their side and everything about that. It was just people saw that and were like, they're just being like a crybaby and being such an entitled killer and being very mad and angry about this. And once again, context matters. If you watch the full clip, if you watch the full stream, or like 30 seconds before the clip was sent, or the whole Aaron Duke video, you would understand why it happened. We're, even as a streamer, like, we're not these immovable, unemotional beings.
We're not so stoic and untouchable,
Yeah, and even as someone who is on the chiller side of things, my chat will notice, we can attest this. I very rarely get upset in this game. Very, very rarely. When I do, the fucking planet will know. But But it's very rare do I get upset or angry or rage at this game. And that's not me trying to like be better than anyone. That's just how I am as a person. Some people are just more emotional. Some people are just
more reactive.
More reactive, and it makes for better clips. I'll give them that. But at the end of the day, as long as it's in the game and nothing personal, once again, I think it's perfectly fine. And let me rephrase that. If it's in the game, nothing personal, nothing offensive, I think it's fine, right? Getting mad at the game, getting mad at the situation, and I think that's where the disconnect comes from a lot of people. I think it's perfectly okay to be mad at a situation in the game. I don't think it's okay to be mad at a person in the game, if that makes any sense. And I think it's where the disconnect definitely comes down to. Now, if someone's exploiting or doing something like hacking, maybe get a little mad at them. Maybe.
Oh, nothing pisses me off, honestly, more than people who, like, cheat to win.
Oh my god.
Like, that's such utter, like, bottom of the barrel idiocy. Like, you're spending, assumedly, over $1,000 for some software so you could see the killer's aura 24/7 and, like, be perfect at mind gaming, and then argue that you're delusional to the killer afterwards.
Yeah, it's just, once again, I don't know how to fix it, and I think that's my biggest that's where I try to rack my brain, because once again, like, we can do all of these things like we talked about earlier, where we try to give people incentives with blood points. We try to encourage teamwork with maybe certain archive challenges being more teamwork based, which I think is something Survivor needs more of. I know some people will be very frustrated with that, but I think I would rather my teammates have an archive that wants them to heal people rather than one that has them going around the map opening chests. Just saying.
Yeah, because like there's more interaction. There's more like intrigue to it. Like, sure, if it's like narratively like a part of like a particular like Survivor's like kit, like as Gabriel pick up a toolbox or replenish a toolbox using the perk scavenger like once in a trial, sure. Or like as Gabriel Soma, I don't remember which one, but like at one point you had to bring scavenger, and you had to like get a bunch of great skill checks with scavenger, basically, as Gabriel Soma.
Yeah.
Like, that's interesting, because now you're like, oh, I have a little bit of a challenge now, I have to pay better attention. Go for the risk of blowing up my generator, basically.
Yeah, and you're not actively, like, throwing or wasting time or anything like that.
No.
Kind of getting your teammates mad at you. It's kind of why, like, I hate any Survivor challenge that requires you to escape. I know some would say, like, oh, that's fine. Yeah, but some people will take it to the extreme, bring distortion calm spirit, sit in a corner and wait.
Sit in a corner and wait with a pink key that has the tokens that you don't lose the key on death and you lose the key on it being used on the hatch.
Yeah. And it's like, that's all they'll do, and then they'll completely make the game a 3v1 for their teammates, and it's like, well...
And I experienced that with distortion myself against a slinger who had friends till the end!
It's yeah. Because I mean, even with like the chest thing, like the new Laura perk that everyone's complaining about right now, Specialist, the one that lets you get the tokens when you open chests. Yeah. I think I'm gonna run a build once on live. That's gonna be that still sight and pharmacy. I'm gonna wait till I'm injured, and I'm just gonna run around opening all the chests so my teammates all have medkits.
Yeah.
But like that would be like a way to like advance the game. It's just like old Invocation versus new Invocation. Like the old Invocation, like I legitimately, if I ever try to use old Invocation before the buff, people would just DC.
Oh, I remember like day one of like All Things Wicked coming out. I only used Invocation once for getting a Depth Sable, and it was against an Infinite Tier 3 Myers. I literally ran myself in the basement, I get hooked there, and then it's an Infinite Tier 3 Myers, and I say, oh, well, fuck it, I'll just, invocate, because I may as well, I'm just a one-tap anyways for the rest of the game.
Right.
And that got us the 1 out, and that got me my Adept because we 3-gen that match.
Mm-hmm. But it's like, once again, I think encouraging teamwork is like part of what they need to start doing a little bit better and more. But even then, it doesn't really solve the issue of people getting upset with how the killer is playing or what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I really don't know how they could possibly fix that without maybe forcing people to play the other side. And, they try with like the blood point encouragements and things like that, but it's like you can't really like force someone to play killer or survivor if they don't want to. And I don't think they should necessarily, but there just has to be some way to help build that empathy for both sides.
Yeah. Like, sure we have achievements, but like I know people who have like 10,000 hours in the game and have never like ever played killer. Like not even once. Not even like ever doing it. They've only been playing Survivor since basically beta. And it's like, how do you not get bored? how do you not like want to send yourself to a padded cell for the next 10 years to recover?
Yeah, and I've also I've made the suggestion of I think the daily challenges need to be updated. I think we need daily and weekly challenges. I think they need to have a lot more challenges that like make you that kind of force you to play killer or use certain perks to kind of incentivize you to switch sides more often.
Yeah.
Things like that. But like even then, once again, you can't force anyone to play the other side, and
and you can't force someone to play a particular character all the time.
Yeah, it's just like Friday the 13th, and even I think Killer Clowns does this too. Isn't it random which side you're on?
I don't know. I've never played F-13 or Killer Clowns.
Well, I know on F-13 it is, and Friday the 13th it was random. Who was Jason? I'm like 95% sure it's the same way in Killer Clowns, and that's part of the way they kind of incentivize people to play both sides is that you don't know which side you're going to play. You don't get to pick.
Yeah, you just remove the ability to pick.
But that runs into the problem of, well, I don't like playing the side, so a lot of people would, get that role or get that side and just DC immediately.
Yeah, but thinking of that, early on with DBD, I think like between 2016 and 2017, there was the option of just quick play, and you would queue in, and you would just get like the first queue that was available or fastest, and it was either Survivor or Killer.
Yeah, I think Texas Chainsaw has that too. Yeah, I don't know why that's not an option in the game. The more I think about it,
I think they realized that because there's just a vast majority of survivors, by sheer numbers, the queue times for Survivor was gonna be longer than the queue times for Killer. Or yeah, so you would more or less be more likely to be playing Killer than Survivor.
I still think it's fine, but like at the same time, like League has an autofill option. Or not an autofill option. They have an autofill thing, but you can pick your role in League. But you can also pick fill, which puts you in any role, whichever's fastest to get you in a queue. 9 times out of 10, you're probably playing support or jungle. But every now and again, you'll get one of the more popular roles. It still happens.
Yeah.
It's just not as likely. And I think if people if there's a blood point incentive or like Eerie shards or something tied to it, which is something I think behavior should incentivize with more, is with Eerie shards. Especially with since you can buy a lot of the skins with Eerie shards now, I think it would be in their best interest to start giving them out more.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this like once or twice. They need to just increase the blood point bonus with like the daily stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like sure you can get some of it in like a single match and that's fine, but then there's like some challenges you can't get like in a single match, and that's why some people just do the challenges or will do the tomes because like they can get it done in one match and like that's fine or whatever. But then there's like some of the ones that are a bit more automatically just like don't think about it, just it's a part of the natural like gameplay, break generators or pallets like 40 times or
most of the older ones.
Vault a pallet, like while in chase, vault a window or pallet against the killer, and it's like, sure.
I'm going through and doing a lot of the older archives. I don't know.
I hate them.
I don't know what the fuck behavior was thinking back then. Why is there an archive for grabbing 6 survivors in one match?
What?
Yes.
My personal hated one is the one from Plague's Tome. where with Corrupt Purge, you hit 2 survivors in a single, like, projectile, like, shot.
Mm-hmm.
Twice. In a single trial.
Okay.
That is abysmal.
I hate
My
plagues.
other personal favorite is getting survivors caught, like, 6-7 times in bear traps in a single trial as Trapper. It's like, please. Like, I love that guy. Like, he's the DBD poster boy, but, like, holy shit.
I hate that some of the dailies also need reworked. My God. I will vehemently say this every single time I get it. Can we please change Plague's daily? My God.
What is Plague's? Oh yeah, Plague's daily is to M1 a survivor while fully infected, right?
Yes, yeah, play her bad.
Yeah, I could go into a whole tirade about like how much I dislike Plague. As like a Nemesis player, I hate Plague. I hate Plague so much.
Or Knight's daily. I fucking hate Knight's daily. It's hit the survivors with your guards 5 times.
Time to bring horse meat and Map of the Realm, I guess.
And just hope.
And just pray.
It's
any praise.
I mean, with the new Knight, it might not be that bad, but
it might not be so like abysmal, but like still, like good lord. My personal favorite is when I get like hag dailies, and it's a meme. It's a meme at this point. I have never ever played hag. I have not played a singular minute of hag in my 4,400 hours. My last achievements in this video game will be all of hag's achievements, and I'm okay with that. But I have never played hag.
I think the only I had played every killer. I had to. I was doing Aaronad's challenge or Aaronad's build on every killer to see which ones it worked on because I'm an insane person.
Fair enough.
Yeah. By the way, say the best for last. Coup de Grace and Coup de Grace Rapid Brutality does not work very good on Plague. I don't know if you knew that, but it does.
It's abysmal dog shit.
It doesn't work very well. Or Huntress. Or Artist, or
any other M2 killer.
It actually worked really well on Doctor. I was surprised how well it worked on him.
Oh yeah, because he's a pure M1 that can just say, you want to drop a pallet? Nuh-uh.
I think he was probably the best rep aside Clown, but you know, kind of swinging back to the content creator thing though. It's like, you know, I think most of the bigger like. Bigger content creators that call it like toxicity and things, I think they're fine. I think they do a very good job at what they're trying to do. But I also do think, you know, outside of those specific people, the ones who I don't know how to say this in the nice way. There are some content creators who I feel definitely revel in the idea of making the community seem more entitled than it is, and that perpetuates a lot of the entitlement we do see in the game.
Yeah.
It's not anyone in particular. I'm not like there's no one in particular that's doing it. It's just I feel like it's an underlying issue in the community as a whole.
It's a group effort rather than just one singular person.
And once again, I think it's not something we can really realistically fix, because the thing is, a lot of these people are as big as they are because people enjoy their stuff.
Yeah, and they find them funny. They find what they see cathartic, you know? Maybe you're just some brand new player. It's like, yeah, I hate these Survivor players. I'm gonna go, like, watch this toxic killer main, like, you know, be an absolute dipshit, you know?
When I was doing daily videos, and I would do discussion videos, and a lot of them would usually be on one topic. It would either be about a Survivor perk or killer perk for the most part. There was other things I would bring up, but mostly it was talking about perks. And, you know, I did one video where I talked about Distortion and Lightborn in the same video. I think I broke some people's brains in my comment section. because I wasn't being cited at all in that video. I was saying both sides suck and shouldn't have these perks.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to realize, because that video actually got a lot of views at the time, and it was, at least comparatively for my size, but it was just very strange to see that if I talk about both sides at the same time like that, people know I end up making no one happy. Which was it was just really funny to see in real time. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
Because, like, if I did just a video about distortion or just a video about Lightborn, I would get people agreeing with me and hooraying me and, some disagreements and whatever. But, when I brought them both up at the same time, I got people calling me stupid and dumb and I don't know what I'm talking about. And no, these things don't equate, which I wasn't saying they equated. I said they were just similar, that they both remove gameplay. But yeah, it's just very weird that the community is very... The community is tribalistic at its core. And I think, once again, the game design definitely gets into that. Because, in games like Rainbow Six Siege, like, there's attacker and defender side, but you have to play both sides. So there's really no tribalism there. Now, some people prefer one side or the other, but the tribalism is very minute and often stamped out the moment it's seen.
Yeah.
But in Dead by Daylight, it's almost, it seems to be, like, encouraged by a lot of people. And once again, I don't know how we fix that. And I think that's always going to be the issue with the entitlement and toxicity in Dead by Daylight, is I don't know how to fix it. And I don't think anyone does. And
do any one of us have, like, the power to even, like, try to do something about it?
I mean, on an individual scale, not really, but, we can always try to make our communities a better place and try our best not to feed into the rhetoric and, perpetuate the ideas on both sides, but it's really all we can do.
Yeah.
I think that's honestly just what it comes down to, and it's... I don't want to try to deplatform anyone. I'm not that malicious. I don't think anyone's, for the most part, I don't think any bigger creators doing things like that or doing anything directly maliciously. I think it's more so just a product of or a symptom of what they're doing, not necessarily them trying to encourage their audience to do it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Now, then again, some of them I feel do need some self-awareness to know that when you have a platform of the size they have, people will try to imitate you.
Yeah, because they think you're the coolest, most awesome, human being on planet Earth.
And
like that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Like, imitation is a form of flattery.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of them need to, like, we were talking about egos earlier, and I don't think we should be. I don't think we should be completely discounting some of the bigger creators in the scene having the egos they have, but at the same time, I think they need to realize that their communities will definitely be trying to be them for one reason or another. Whether it's because they find you cool, whether it's because you're entertaining and they want to be just like you, whether it's because they're trying to imitate you to get the success that you have, things like that. Like, there's a lot of reasons people would, but I think, like, I hate that when people talk crap about them, but Otstarva, I think, is a shining example of just a wholesome, good dude.
He's like the golden boy, like, of DVD content creators, and even he, like, feels entitled sometimes. Like, he'll even get really frustrated with the game, and at times he'll even tell someone is a baby because they're DCing on the first hook on the first down.
Mm-hmm. But like, I don't think he does it. And a lot of times he will apologize for it. I've seen him do it on stream before.
Yeah.
Emotions get the better of us. Once again, we're all human. But I think that's the problem with a lot of I don't even think it's a Dead by Daylight problem. I think it's just a social media content creator problem. Is a lot of times, even I'm guilty of this at times, we double down way too much.
Yeah.
On a lot of the things we do.
Like, I can also just think of, like, a situation like that happened sometime last year, where, and I did my careful studying of what happened, where a well-known, like, Dead by Daylight, like, parody animator liked a comment, and it turned out he did this all the time, every time he posted a new video for, like, the course of, like, say, a day or two, as a way of saying, hey, I saw your comment, but it doesn't necessarily mean I agree with you what you say. And he unfortunately liked a very distasteful comment, and he doubled down on it because he was being, and, like, I can only, like, feel, like, some form of empathy because, like, can you imagine, like, you're just getting slammed for like making a mistake.
Yeah.
And then just being punished for it, like, and not being allowed to like say your piece and breathe and just say it. But like, would you panic in his situation?
Yeah, more than likely. I mean, cause I know who you're talking about, and it's like
Yeah,
it's one of those things. It's like I'm not nearly at that size to know, but it's like I mean, even I get flustered in some of my comments, and I'm like I have in particular, there's someone in my comment section now who like on every video is just like criticizing my gameplay every time. And I try to be nice and humble and understanding in a lot of my comments, even the people who disagree with me. I try to be understanding to their point of view and things like that. But at the same time, I'm dealing with like maybe 20, 30 people, depending on the
yeah,
video. Like, I mean, other than my Unbreakable one, which, oh, that was a fun week. It's like I can't imagine it, like the stress. Like, I mean, you work customer service, right?
oh yeah, and like I've had, and I will tell you my favorite customer complaint, which is a very terrible thing to say. I had a customer put in a complaint that I got told about by my coworkers and other manager. Indy looks miserable.
I get that one all the time.
She looks like she doesn't want to be here. She was rude. She didn't smile at me. Teach her customer service 101. And it's like, oh my god.
I had a guy come in. We were 10 minutes from close. He came in. He wanted brake fluid. I remember this very distinctly. He wanted an oil filter. I looked it up for him. I asked him what the vehicle was. I went and grabbed it, brought it to him, scanned it, told him the price. I told him what to do with his card and whatnot. He did it. Before he walked out, he was like, you could be a little happier. You're not very good at this customer service thing. You should probably get better about that. Then he just walked out the door. Okay, I did what you wanted. Like, I'm sorry that we're 10 minutes from close and I don't have like a massive smile on my face because someone walked in. I'm terribly sorry. I said hello. I asked you what you needed. I got what you needed, and you left. That's how this works.
Yeah, like,
But
we've like, even at my job, we've gotten to the habit where like, around 30 minutes to close, because we're like an arts and crafts store. I'll tell people like, hi, are you finding everything okay? Okay, you don't need help with anything. Okay, well, as a reminder, we do close at this time. And I go through and I bother people professionally because I love it. Politely, the most polite way possible. Get the fuck out of my store.
I
love it.
I think my favorite thing about being a manager is that I get to pull the can I speak to the manager, and I do the turnaround thing.
I am the manager, and I give them the biggest smile on planet Earth.
It's my favorite. Can I talk to them? Yeah, give me 1 second. Hi, I'm the manager.
Yeah.
It's always so satisfying.
Yeah, like it's awesome to just be like, can I speak to a manager? Yeah, I am the manager. How can I help you?
But my point with that, with like the whole like YouTube comment thing and like how the internet works in general, it's just, I can't imagine dealing with that many upset people and you not being able to necessarily say your piece. Even if someone's in the wrong, like, I still think they should be allowed to
say why they did something in the first place.
Yeah. Well, and once again, there's especially now, there's a particular thing happening on Twitter now that I won't name or mention, because it's a bigger topic than me. That is happening with a very big Twitch streamer at the moment. That yeah, should they be allowed to say their piece? Probably not. But
no, it's a situational thing. But like, fuck, if like you're just gonna say what you say and just disappear from the internet, I think that's probably the best for everyone, you included.
Yeah,
like
I don't know. It's just like, I feel like the internet like tries to go on these witch hunts sometimes for people, and I've said this before, and the idea that someone could go into my past and like find something like, I don't want to say like morally reprehensible, because I haven't done anything like that in my past that I'm aware of, anyways.
Yeah.
But they could find something that other people could find reprehensible. Like, I've been very open. I had a DUI a few years ago.
Mm.
I am currently 3 years sober.
Mm.
like if someone really wanted to go into, I mean, they don't have to go into the past. I just said it in a podcast. That's the thing. I'm not, I mean, I'm ashamed of it. Obviously I did a terrible thing. I shouldn't have done it. I paid my dues. I've done my time.
Yeah.
But you know, some people will see that and go back through and be like, oh, the fake Bennett was a terrible alcoholic who, did this terrible thing. They shouldn't be allowed to have a platform anymore. And like, it scares the crap out of me all the time.
Yeah, and like I was on Tumblr, and like that was like I think the origin point of the fucking witch hunts online. And I would wake up every day thinking, "Oh my fucking god, if I fuck something up, I'm like it's over." And I gave myself panic attacks over it. And then at one point I was like, "You know what the fuck ever." Like I can't care anymore. These are random strangers on the internet. The best way I've gone about it when people are upset with me online, we are two strangers in the streets of New York. I am juggling like balls and looking like a clown, and you're just mad at a clown. You want to be mad at a silly little guy like me?
It's one of those, because people have noticed it, like in the way I talk, in the way I text, and all this stuff. Because people like say like, why do you? I've had people ask me like why I add like so many prefaces when I talk, and it's because of Twitter. It's because of Twitter. That's why. Because that is not how I don't talk like a normal person does. I know I don't, because I'm like a lot of times during this I've been like, well, I don't mean all, and I don't mean like, I don't mean just this or just that. I say all these prefaces because Twitter has trained me that if I don't, someone will take my arguments, completely shift it around, and somehow I'm the bad guy no matter what I say.
Because nuance is dead and Twitter killed it.
And you know, even if I do say something incorrect, like I don't mind people like correcting me. A lot of times I'll be like, yeah, I messed up. I'm sorry. And for some people that's not enough. Like for some people, I don't know what they want you to do.
They want you dead sometimes.
Like
nothing short of you just dropping dead is not enough.
Yeah, and you know, like that goes into bringing it back around to Dead by Daylight. You know, it's also with that. It's like, you know, like you tunnel somebody out, and it's like even if you like apologize or like explain yourself on why you did it, they don't care. You still tunneled them out. Why would they care?
Yeah.
And all they want is you to never play the game again, understand that you did something terrible, even though you just played the game.
Yeah.
And
you're a piece of shit human being. Give me $200. You're ugly.
Give me $200.
Yeah.
I demand recompense for my tunneling.
You played like a dipshit. You're ugly. You're fat. Give me $200. That's really what it sounds like sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah, you know, I can't deny that it does sound like that sometimes.
It really genuinely sounds like that, and it's at one point it just becomes funny, like in a sad way sometimes.
Yeah, well, once again, like I said earlier today, there was that person who came in who got mad at me for slugging or slugging because they stabbed at a hook. That's why I slugged them. And the whole team was there. So of course I slugged them. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
But they were very mad because they were like, it's PTB. You shouldn't be trying that hard to get your 4K. Bro, I'm just playing the game. That's all I'm doing here.
I'm just playing the game, man. I work like 900 hours a week just to pay the bill.
What am I just supposed to let the person on my back just wiggle off? Like that's what confuses me about it. It's like, okay, what do you want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's just lose, well, no, I'm not gonna just lose. And I think another problem comes from and I was talking to I think Naya the other day about this. It was either Naya or Hens, I don't remember. But I was talking to one of them about it, where it's like, what is, I don't know what tryhard and sweat is in this game anymore.
Yeah.
I think those terms have just been killed by the community, and because I was playing the anniversary event, and I have a remote hook build right now.
Mm.
It's basically a backpack build with Starstruck. I run up to people with Awakened Awareness, get the aura, and then I remote hook them. Yeah. I think it's a fun build, and I think it was an interesting way to kind of like take a mechanic that was introduced in the anniversary and stretch it to its limits. I thought it was fun, and I've been using it nonstop ever since. And I was playing Deathslinger on Coldwind, and it's Deathslinger on Coldwind. So I didn't go to the main building. I found a 3-gen, and I locked it down. That was my entire goal.
Yep.
And apparently, I was playing super tryhard and sweaty that match. I do you see my build? I'm
Yeah.
running a backpack build. Like I can go grab pop pain res if you want.
Do you want to see Pop Pain Res Force has like I'll even
Like and
like
I'm playing Deathslinger and they brought a cold wind offering. That's what made it
yeah,
even worse.
yeah, they brought the offering.
It's like what like if that's considered tryhard, I don't want to know what actual tryharding is. And
Yeah, no,
it's just like I said. I feel like Dead by Daylight has kind of diluted the term of tryhard. It's like just playing a certain killer, no matter what you bring or how you play throughout the match. It doesn't matter. Just playing a certain killer makes you a tryhard.
yeah,
Um,
my own personal definition of tryharding and sweatlording is like if you tryharding is like you get to end game and you get at least 2 kills. Like fuck it, let's say an 8 hook 2K. That's fine. That's a tryhard mindset. Sweatlord is uh like 3 hook 1 staging a person and then just making a 3v1. That's Sweatlord to me.
I think part of it also comes into the whole ego debate where it's like I think some people think they are so good at the video game that the only possible way they could have lost is if the other person was trying that hard.
Yeah.
Because listen, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the greatest player in the world, but even with my high win rate, a lot of times I'm not thinking that hard. I'm really not. And you could argue, well, it's because you play a killer who's really good. Maybe. You could argue it's because I bring perks that are really good. Maybe. But my point is, like, I'm really not trying as hard as I think people think I am sometimes. Because I've said it before, because, chat will sometimes give me killer redeems, and they'll specifically say, go try hard. And I will, like, wipe the floor with people before 2 gens even pop.
Oh yeah.
I can try hard if I want to. I just find it exhausting as fuck, so I don't. And I think that's once again, I think that's another part of the issue with the whole entitlement thing is once again, I don't know what people want half the time. Some people want you to try hard, some people don't. Some people want you to bring meta, some people don't. Some people want you to be a cute killer, some people don't. Same with survivors. Some people want you to farm, some people don't. Some people don't like camping. Some people find it interesting. Some people don't like tunneling. Some people like just being tunneled and chased the whole match. Like, there's so many different ways people enjoy this game that there's no way to please everybody. And at the end of the day, it makes trying to do that just an impossibility. And I think the Dead by Daylight community has a very hard time wrapping their brains around it, on top of the idea of, well, maybe they're just playing the game.
Yeah, shit, I can't even be mad if this is a killer that understands the counterplay. Like I don't go for the bully squad stuff. Like that's boring to me. But at one point I remember learning how to do flashlight locker save timings because sometimes that's just what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I got rid of that. That's whatever. So I don't even bother with it anymore. And I just don't bother with flashlights. I don't bother with all this other stuff. And I'll have killers just call me dog shit because I'm a Prestige 100 player. And part of the entitlement is expecting a Prestige 100 character to be the most insane tryhard or sweatlord motherfucker on planet Earth. I will either get tunneled out on James or Maria, 5 gens because this is the best survivor on the team. I need to make sure to get them out of the game, or they'll ignore me the whole match unless I physically get in the way.
Right. Well, I think it extends to the killer side too. It's
yeah,
because we I'm P 82 right now on Chucky. Hopefully it'll be 100 in a couple days. But
yeah.
I miss slice and dices all the time. Most of the time when I miss them, it's not even because you just suck at them. No, most of the times when I miss them is because I'm going for a dumb one. Then I'm like, will this work? It's
Yeah, and like it's the same with me on Nemesis. You know, I'm rusty as hell right now, and like, you know, I'll miss. I'll, you know, just miss. Period. And even with unknown, like I'll just like, you know, completely and utterly like I'll just lock in, or I'll just like fuck up the whole match, and that just happens. And I'll have people like, regardless of how I played, how well I played, they'll still come in and say like I'm dog shit, and it's like, are you okay? Did you have a bad night?
I
Do you
think
feel proud of yourself right now?
I also think another part of it is this idea of skill, um,
Yeah.
which it's something I've debated a lot because at the end of the day, I genuinely think that a lot of the skill in Dead by Daylight that's expressed is stuff we don't even really think about or see. I think most of Dead by Daylight's like skill expression is the macro gameplay, um,
Mm-hmm.
but no one really talks or thinks about that most of the time. It's like with the camping and slugging argument, like earlier, like I said, with they stabbed a hook in front of me and the whole team was there. If I wanted to play nice and be dumb, I would just let the person on my back wiggle off, or I would just drop them, slug one of them, and then put that other person on the hook. But from a macro sense, it's like it makes way more sense to apply pressure to all four of them here at the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people would say, "Well, that's not very skillful. All you did was drop somebody and just hit two other people." I guess, but isn't the skill there the decision making?
Yeah. It's being able to react or proactively do something that, you know, you wouldn't normally think about. Like sometimes, you know, I'll see, and it's the same, like it's insane because like there is some translatable skill between certain killers. Shockingly enough, there is translatable skill between Nemesis and the Unknown, because sometimes you'll see a survivor that is in a position that is drastically out of like your control. They
Hmm.
won't give you a short chase. All you can do is just initially like contaminate them or initially weaken them to get part of your power, you know, pulled up, and then you look for another survivor that isn't expecting to be chased.
Yeah, exactly. The hit and run thing. I do that all the time with Unknown.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's definitely part of it because especially on Unknown, it's like, well, now they have to come to you if
Mm-hmm.
they want to get rid of the weekend, and it's even on the survivor side, it's like we can complain all day and night about like perks like deja vu, but it's like or windows of opportunity, but at the end of the day, it's like I don't care if someone's running windows of opportunity. You can tell the difference between someone who knows how to use it and who doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, and I think that's still skill expression, knowing how to use it, how to chain tiles and all that stuff. But a lot of people would say it's not skill expression. You're just following the yellow. And
Run to yellow, drop yellow, control times two, old W.
I mean, it's just like I've made this. Some people say like Chucky is no skill a lot too, and it makes me so mad when they say that because it's like, oh well, slice and dice is impossible to miss. No, it's not. For one, you just suck.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
Like I'll try
perfectly
to
honest.
dodge like going into like an object and I'm like, oh fuck, oh shit, oh god.
Uh,
And like that's whatever. And like
like, once again, I tell people this all the time. Run into him. You would be surprised how often that works against even good Chuckies, especially good Chuckies.
because they don't expect you to do that.
No, no one does. But the other one is like when I do my Chuck Spied videos. Not often, but every now and again, I will get comments that are like, "Well, you didn't really do anything skillful. You just stood there." I was skillful enough to hide my red stain in the proper direction. I was skillful enough to know that this was a loop they would panic at, and I was skillful enough to put myself in a position where I could get the hit if they do panic.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, technically speaking, I'm just standing there, sure, but there's a lot of like other mind games that are going into it. It also comes
Yeah,
down to like a whole patience thing. It's like is my ability is my patience to stand there and wait for them. Technically speaking, I would call that skillful. Not
yeah,
necessarily, but like to a degree, I think learning the patience of like specific killers in specific situations is is definitely a skill set. I think Desslinger and Huntress are like a good example of that. It's like, you could argue, is it skillful to aim as Desslinger and wait for the survivors to walk into your crosshair? Same with like Huntress. Some would say no, because you're just waiting on them to do the mistake. But like
yeah.
that's 90% of killer gameplay is waiting for mistakes or trying to cause the mistakes.
or even just like having the most insane game sense on planet Earth and just expecting them to do something and catching them off guard because of you expecting that.
Yeah, exactly. I've said it before with the Chuck spots. It's like if more survivors just stopped moving, I wouldn't be able to get as many clips as I do.
Yeah.
And just be patient, which is a hard ass sometimes. But if the killer doesn't have something like Wesker where they can this is no shade to Wesker mains, by the way. But if a killer doesn't have something like Wesker where they bound twice and then bump off a barrel that causes them to grab a survivor around a 90-degree corner that they couldn't even see, people are just like, no, the killer takes no skill.
Yeah.
And like I said, on the survivor side, it's kind of the same thing. It's unless you're going in bare bones trying to loop the tiles in a perfect way and get the killer to chase you for over a minute, it's no, you're just not good at survivor. It doesn't matter. It had nothing to do with the map RNG, the specific killer you were going against, the pallets that were dropped, the resources you have, where the gens are placed. None of that had any semblance of use into that.
Yeah.
But Indy, I think I think we kind of lost the plot at this point with the entitlement.
Yeah. It's just, what conclusion can we come from this even,
Just the Dead by Daylight community needs help, and I think a lot of us need therapy, including myself.
Some of them need a wake-up call. Because I have seen, I have been in VCs and in servers that I'm not in anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Where, holy shit, the things they would say. Genuinely, holy fucking shit, this stuff they would say. And I would worry sometimes that I would go against them because they're not going to really know that it's me or not. It's hard to tell if it's me sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And, some of the shit they say to, these, killers, it makes me just want to, say, hey, man, are you okay? That's kind of weird. And I wish I did. But
yeah, once again, I don't think there's an easy solution other than behavior putting the hammer down. I don't expect them to do that because of how many people it tends to be, and I don't want to. We haven't really mentioned it too much, but I don't want to sit here and say it's every single match I play or all the time. I don't get it very often, personally, and once again, we talked about earlier how I'm on Windows Store, and that might be why. I do get it more in my streams because I have TTV in my name because I'm stupid. But and it costs $10 to change my name on Xbox.
Yeah.
But it's just I don't know what the real solution is other than people speaking up more about it. The genuine toxicity and entitlements. I'm not talking about the name calling in game. As long as it's not offensive, I don't have a problem with banter in game. It's not even banter. The other person can't hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Calling someone dumb or a rat or I hate that they did that or all these survivors out here with doing all these flashlight saves and things like that. You know what? Whatever. If you want to be mad about that, go right ahead. I think it's perfectly fine. I don't think that deserves to be called out. I don't understand why it is all the time. But if someone says something truly vile to other people, call that shit out. That's all I can say. And I know it's go ahead.
Yeah, just call it the fuck out for what it is. And if you see something, say something, basically.
Yeah, and I know it's easier said than done for a lot of people. People try to stay in their own lane. It's human nature, but just call it out. It's all you can do. And hope action is taken if it needs to be, and it also, like we stated earlier, with some situations, context does matter. It doesn't matter for once again, truly vile, offensive things and doxing and things like that. Yeah, I don't care what the context is. That shit doesn't matter. But if it's something like someone getting like super mad at the game and screaming at the top of their lungs, but not directing it towards someone, yeah, maybe just ignore that. It's just someone who's having a bad day. I promise you.
Yeah.
And we all have them, so it's fine. And another thing, I think this is something the community is kind of getting better about. until a couple days ago. We need to stop holding streamers to this like higher gold standard. We aren't
Yeah.
robots, man. We are allowed to still talk shit sometimes, okay? We are allowed to get mad. We are allowed to get upset. We're not these perfect angel robots that just play the game and never, ever, ever get mad at things or annoyed.
Yeah, and like I will give you a very good example. Old like pre-nerf FTV buckle up.
Mm-hmm.
I got suspended from Twitch.
What did you?
Because I said a vile thing and I got suspended. I don't know if it was because I said this vile thing. But right after like this thing happened, I got FTV buckle up and something broke in me and I just slugged the whole lobby.
Mm-hmm.
And that had been my immediate response every time FTV buckle up ever came in my lobbies. I would just slug everyone out for the 4 minutes. That is the genuinely most toxic thing I've ever done in this video game. Is 4-man slug for a single FTV buckle up in solo queue.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated that shit. It made me go insane. And I've had people get really mad at me for doing this because I was sick and tired of that bullshit.
I mean, if it's it's the way to counter it. Unfortunately.
I was just so I broke. I was on Demogorgon and I broke that match.
And I mean, that's the other thing, like we've said before, a little bit with like the meta things and stuff like that. Some strategies are just inherently frustrating.
Yeah.
FT Buckle Up, I think, was a very good example of a frustrating strategy. I think like old DS, the 3-gen meta,
yeah, the I think the only time we've ever genuinely had like a toxic killer meta was the Gen Kick meta with Overcharge, Colubrine, Eruption. Yeah.
Well, even then, because a lot of things, like I would argue before the anti-face camp, camping is definitely a very frustrating thing to go against because, with tunneling, at least like you're still playing the game, but with like camping, it's like, oh, you don't even really get to play the game. You got downs, you got hit twice or once, depending on the killer, and now you're just on a hook and you just got to go next.
Yep.
And it can be very frustrating, and I understand that, especially if it happens consistently and all the time. And same with like the 3-gen meta, it's like you feel helpless, like there's nothing you can do. Even with the quote counters it had, if the killer is really doing their job correctly, they can force it. Because the only real counter to that back in the day was like Deja Vu, but even then in solo queue, couldn't really count on that.
Yeah, no.
And if it's a smaller map, like it doesn't even matter anyways.
Yeah.
And like once again, I understand the frustration. And once again, as long as it's nothing like a personal attack, I think letting out your frustration a little bit. And some could argue, well, you're letting out frustration out on other real people. I guess, but at the end of the game, it's a video game. People are going to play how they want to play.
Yeah, I mean, after a while, though, you do go crazy.
Yeah.
You do go crazy. Because people will, ego trip on you and claim you're dog shit.
Yeah, and then it feels
does something to a motherfucker. Yeah, I will tell you that much.
It's an attack on pride. That's what it comes down to. And that pride is a very fickle thing, and it's the first thing to fall most of the times. There's a whole TV show about it called Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
But sometimes it gets the better of us, and it's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, like I was saying with the whole streamer thing, we're human too. We mess up, we do things, and I feel like if it's nothing that physically or like I said, as long as it's nothing offensive or anything truly, truly, truly vile that's directed personally at somebody, I think it's fine. I think there is a line, and I think some people have crossed it and gotten away with it. But
yeah,
I think for the most part, most streamers, at least the ones I see, don't really cross that line, even when some would say they have. And once again, I think it's something the community needs to get better about. And also there's the whole idea of whether or not it's in the TOS versus, well, it's not against the TOS, but is it morally okay to do and things like that? And it's like,
Yeah.
that's a gray area, and it's case by case, and person by person.
You just get into the semantics of it.
Yeah, and I just think a lot of us, I said we need to stop staying in our own lanes, but I think on some things we do need to start staying in our own lanes a little bit more.
Yeah, like you just need to be. There's just some instances where, like, sure you want to talk about it, but other times just quiet, be quiet. You have no reason to say anything about this. I think.
Yeah.
Like there are instances where that happens.
Yeah, and circling this fully back around to the whole what can we really do, or what's the conclusion to this? Like I said, just all we can really do is try to be better and hope other people are better. And it's a problem that's probably never going to be truly solved, even if we do quote solve it. But there's wholesome streamers, there's wholesome content creators, there's people who are still very good at the game without having an ego, which, some would argue you kind of have to have an ego to be good at something. I would disagree with that, but, I get it. I get why people say that. It's just, yeah, there's no easy solution, but yeah.
In that case, it just seems like people are confusing pride, like being proud of something, and like being egotistical. They're just confusing it that way. I like to think I don't have an ego, but I do am prideful of putting enough time into something that I can be decent at it. Am I the best? Probably not. There's people that are way better than me that play the game for way longer than me, way more often than I do.
I forget. I got name dropped in a video once as the best Chucky that someone knew, and I was really flattered, and I was like, I don't think I am, but thank you. But it's one of those things where I've gotten called out before because people say I'm too humble, which is a weird thing to get criticized for. But I have tried to get better about it and being noticing the difference between being confident in what I can do versus being arrogant about it.
Yeah.
And
there is a difference between these things.
Yeah, and I some have told me the difference is being able to back it up, and I don't think that's the difference. I think the difference is it's how you present it. Because if I went into every single argument being like, I'm actually the number one Chucky in the world, and everyone says it, that's arrogant, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm like, yeah, I'm a pretty decent Chucky player, and these are my thoughts on this, I think that's confidence, right?
Yeah.
Just being confident in my ability and adding a preface to my argument. That's all I'm really doing there. It's just
even then, if you're trying to give a balancing, it's or even just trying to some of it is sometimes just be here's my credentials. I have some authority on what I have to say.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where people are like, you don't have to bring up your survivor main all the time. Well, sometimes people kind of want to, just so people understand where they're coming from with their argument. I think some people do it a bit superfluously a lot of the times. I don't really need to know that I'm anytime distortion is brought up, listen, man, I don't need to know your survivor main. Just tell me your opinion. I get it. If your opinion is still, I use distortion and I don't hide from the whole match. I don't care. You're not the person I'm talking about. But even with I have 9,000 hours in the game. I don't. But I'm saying people who say that stuff, I get why they're saying it. It like you said, it's just credentials. It's just so people understand that you kind of know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And game time doesn't necessarily mean knowledge, because hell, they could have had the lobby open for those 9,000 hours. I don't know.
Yeah. And there's people who just be like, oh, I have a lot of hours, therefore, I'm better than you. And yeah, I guess.
Even then, like what we talked about earlier with what is skill in this game, it's a hard to quantify thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the bigger issues with with I said, with could I in theory claim that I was one of the best Chucky players? Probably. I probably could. I don't really have that much competition, to be honest. There's 4 of us left.
Yeah.
But what credentials do I realistically have to prove that?
Yeah, like
It's just like
what do you have?
yeah, it's just like when people put like or high MMR in their stream tags. Once again, nothing against them. I get it. You got to play the game. I get that. The Twitch meta and the title meta and all that. I understand, but at the same time, it's like, what are the credentials for that? Oh well, I win a lot. Okay, well can we see the MMR? No, so you have no proof.
Yeah,
Like we can assume
baseless claims,
yeah, we
basically.
can assume you're high MMR based on the survivors you're playing against and how many wins you get. Sure, but we don't know.
Yeah, and there's no way for us to like check, quote unquote.
Yeah, it's just like with like the Nemesis thing. It's like what's your position in the Nemesis leaderboard, by the way? Do you know?
Oh my god, I'd have to check. I haven't played him in 4 months.
But my point with that, why we're checking that, is like, let's say you're the number one tentacle hit Nemesis.
Yeah.
Does that mean you're the best Nemesis? No, it just means you
No.
hit the most tentacles. That's all that means.
Yeah. And like the thing is, like, it's probably not even that. Like, I swear to God, it's bugged on my end because I do that. Like, the tracker is downing survivors while contaminated. Is it with the tentacle strike? We don't know. So, like, what the hell?
Couldn't someone like go like 2 days without ever using the tentacle and figure it out?
I have no idea. Let's see.
Well, yeah,
I'm still in like top 20.
yeah, and then it's like and then there's ones like twins where do you know what twins is?
Down while Victor was claimed. Yeah.
It's like Lixie has the number one in that. Of course she does, but like it's just like with the Chucky one that exists where it's hitting someone 3 seconds after a scamper. Like back when manual scamper was a thing, that was not a badge of honor or a show you were a good Chucky. If anything, it just proved you were bad if you were top on that.
Yeah, like, and even then, like, people say, "Oh, you're such a good unknown." I'm like top 150 on unknown.
That's still...
My friends who put like a shitload more hours than me, like people that I know are already like top 50, like because they have 3 times or even like like more than twice as many like tracker downs as me, and it's like, damn, like I wish I could get into that and do that, but work is making me die a little inside every time I clock in.
There's once again, it's just hard to quantify skill in this game.
Yeah.
Because even in like games like Rainbow Six Siege or like more competitive shooters, if you ask most like pro players, they will tell you that just because you win more than you lose doesn't mean you're good at the game.
Yeah.
The win-loss ratio is not the determining factor. Because I was watching this is really really off topic, but I was watching a coach for a Valorant player who was climbing ranked, and they were watching him play and were like, "Wow, dude, I see why you're in the rank you are. Here's some suggestions to fix it." And then they switched sides to defense, and this man, I don't know if you play Valorant at all, but he had like every sight setup like memorized and like never lost a single gunfight on defense. And he's like, okay, I figured out your problem. Because statistically speaking, if you're really good at one side in that game, you will win at least 50% of the time. And if you're winning your games more than you're losing, like if you get lucky enough to get defense seconds and win off of that, like your win ratio will be higher, but that doesn't mean you're good at the game. And like I said in Dead by Daylight, it's just there's so many things that go into it, like map knowledge and knowing every killer power, knowing what all the perks do, knowing how to use them, knowing when the powers work, when they don't, knowing when to camp, when to slug, when to tunnel, knowing when to 3-gen.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of it. But yeah, I think with that though, I think it's now we've gotten really off topic, and we kind of came to the conclusion. I think it's a good stopping point.
Yeah, I think that's a very good stopping point right there.
All right, Indy, I do want to thank you for coming on. I know this was kind of last minute and a different kind of podcast on my end of things, but I really do appreciate you.
Thank you for having me and like just letting me just talk about this sort of thing, because I mentioned it before, but like I remember trying to talk about this back in like like late 2022, early 2023, but just like a bunch of stuff happened and I couldn't follow up with it. So at the very least, something is getting put out there talking about this sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, once again, it's a very divisive and complex topic, and we didn't even cover like a lot of things that go into it. I feel. I mean, we could have gotten into the idea of like I can't really think of anything offhand, but there's a lot of things we could have gone into. I mean, just like particular community heads who I didn't want to bring up and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, where can people find you again? I don't even know if you really said that.
I can be found on Twitter, here on Twitch. I've got a YouTube channel, so got a couple of places. Make sure to put an underscore between Indigo and Ninja because some other Chud Lord has my username without the underscore.
So it's no underscore on Twitch.
Yeah, no underscore on Twitch because I made this account back in 2015.
Okay.
Well, yeah, it's no underscore everywhere else, and sometimes, very rarely, I add a 97 to the end. If in the case of people having taken my name.
Well, in any case, I'll have all that linked below. You guys should follow Indy. They are great. I'm in their streams like at least every other day. When you do stream.
Yeah.
In any case, I love y'all. Have a good one, and yeah, bye.
Bye.
All right, Indy. All right, the rest of this will be cut out, obviously, but yeah, for real though, thanks for this. Like I said, in when we were setting this up, I've been trying to branch out the podcast a little bit more into other topics.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we kind of tangented a bit. That's not a word, but that's kind of where this ends up going a lot of the times. My mind rambles, and I bring up a lot of extra topics. And I know, like I said earlier, this is a very complicated topic, so it was very hard to stay on topic sometimes. And we did roundabout a lot, but I think a lot of it really just stems from the same places. Is really where it came down to. I do want to apologize if there was anything I said that was what's the word I'm looking for? A bit rude or anything like that.
Oh, you're fine. Like I have autism. I can't tell half the time. Yeah, so
fair enough. I don't think I said anything rude. I just if I did, sometimes I get ahead of myself. I know.
Yeah, you're fine. Like it's just like I will tell you, you are like very nice at like compared to a lot of the other people I've spoken to, especially to a lot of the customers I've interacted with. Like there's just you're fine. Don't worry too much about it.
Once again, and I'm not gonna. I work in customer service too. Trust me, I understand. I've worked in customer service for fucking. When did the pandemic start?
2020.
Yeah.
I've been in customer service since I was 19. I'm 26 now. I started my first job. Oh my god! Like holiday season of 2017. 2.5 years at GameStop. I move across the country. I'm just dealing with one abysmal dog shit job after another, basically.
Yeah, like I told you, because I was in the a lot of people know this. I didn't really bring it up. I usually bring it up at some point. I was in the military for 4 years. And then I went from the military to I was a dishwasher. I went to school. I was a bartender at one point. I was a private investigator for about a year. I was a dishwasher again. You're
just multi-classing and everything at this point.
I was a manager at a grocery store during the pandemic. And now I'm a manager at a car parts store.
Incredible.
So trust me, I get it, and I won't get into specifics, but life sucks sometimes. It's really tough.
Oh my god, does it suck so much?
I get it. The fucking roller coaster. I every time I think I have it made, I don't. every time I think I have it figured out, I fucking don't.
Yeah.
But God, I suck at ending conversations. If you've ever wondered, like, if you look at the podcast and we're like, how did they talk for like 6 hours about this thing? That's why I don't know how to end a conversation.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, like shit.
But yeah, also, are you usually up this late? I know you stream typically when I do, so I think you
Oh, I
are.
usually go to bed sometimes like as late. I come in tomorrow at 5 in the afternoon, so I'm usually up sometimes. From like I've stayed up till 9 a.m. Like having come in for I've stayed up for 24 hours. Like I very frequently sometimes.
Oh, I am old. I can't do that anymore.
Oh, I'm considered to be old too. Like shit.
Yeah, I did a when Chucky released, I was gonna do a 24-hour stream, to celebrate it because yeah, Chucky is a very important character for me. But so I was gonna do a 24-hour stream. I made it to 15, and I was like, guys, I can't.
Oh yeah, I've made it to like 17 hours. I'm like, oh my god, I gotta continue this the next day, and then I couldn't because people were just being huge jerk offs to me.
that was a fun day. I ate a sock that day.
You ate a sock.
I ate a sock on stream.
How the fuck do you eat a sock?
Very carefully. You first
That
off,
is terrifying.
First off, you buy. I also I love that your first question was how and not why.
Listen.
It was for charity. That's why. I bought a baby sock, and I cut it up into little itty bits, and I put it into a sandwich, and I ate it. Technically it was a wrap. It wasn't a sandwich, but still same concept.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was for what was the goal? I think it was $175 to Toys for Tots.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I need to do another thing like that again. Yeah, because I thought Toys for Tots was a fun charity for Chucky.
Yeah, I mean, my motivation is doing shit out of spite. I went into comp out of spite because I found out Nemesis was banned in most comp tournaments. Yep. For the dumbest reason on planet Earth.
I think that's one thing we did forget to bring up was comp scene.
Yeah.
And mostly because I'm kind of scared to bring them up.
Oh my fucking god. The Discord calls I was mentioning, I was in pickup games with those calls.
It's always comp Discord call. You're not the first person to tell me that. You're like the fourth or fifth person to tell me that.
I got kicked out of comp because they were mad at me because I was a one trick for Nemesis. They were mad at me that I basically never came to scrims. And I told them I worked. But they never communicated with me that they were mad at me. And then miscommunication happened, and then I fucked off. And it's been like a year since. I was on Otofu scrims December of 2022 and then March of 2023.
It's always, like I said, it's always the Discord. Like I said, you're not the first and won't be the last, I'm sure. Tell me of some of the horror stories from those calls.
Oh my god, like no. Good lord.
Did you watch the Killer Whale video recently?
Yeah, and like I will tell you right now, a good chunk of it is correct.
Well, the funny thing, and you know, I once again I won't name names, but I watched the reaction videos to that, and I the one comment that a lot of the comp players were making that really like struck me the wrong way was when they were like, how are these tweets like they didn't realize how the tweets that a lot of comp players make come off as condescending. And I was like, how can you not like it, I don't know. I just think it's fun. We didn't bring it up, even though like I feel like that goes into the whole ego side of it.
Oh, I can imagine. Like it's like just lack of self-awareness, social ineptitude, which isn't even their fault. I can imagine, but also like, holy shit, you do have to remember a lot of these people are like straight up in high school.
Yeah,
because who the fuck has the time to like sit down and do scrims for 12 hours straight?
Someone who, yeah, but pretty much high schoolers or people who don't have a job.
High schoolers or like nepo kids or like trust fund babies, basically.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, like, if you're a trust fund kid, I'm pretty sure you have better things to do. No shade to the comp BBD. You guys are most of you guys are actually pretty cool.
I'm giving shade to the comp DVD. A lot of you are kind of abysmal. Some of you are really cool though, and if you're really cool, you know who you are.
The duality of man.
Yes. This is awesome. This is dog shit.
I know some comp players. They're not, and maybe it's just because of the ones I know. That's probably what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. The comp scene is a whole other topic. But
Yeah.
it's just I always like I don't understand why a lot of the tweets I see from comp players like put down pub players. I just like I get it. You're good at the game, man. But these people are like playing the normal game. Just let them exist and have their opinions.
Yeah. Like Jesus, but like I played Nemesis in comp out of pure spite because the zombies were too RNG reliant.
Mm-hmm.
The zombies are dog shit. Back then, they were dog shit 95% of the time.
Did you watch the Horser podcast by chance?
I have not. I should.
We talked a little bit in there on some changes to Nemesis to make him less RNG reliant, and one of our suggestions was we decided to make it an add-on instead of base kit, but
yeah,
make it so there's an add-on that makes it so if a survivor's contaminated, the zombies kind of like beeline towards their direction.
Yeah. That would be nice, yeah.
That way, like, Nemesis has, like, some control over the zombies. I did see a rework idea to make it so his zombies are kind of like the guards for night, and I thought that was a bad idea because I don't want
that's not at all a part of his power.
Yeah, I don't want that to be. I don't want Night 2.0, and I don't want. I feel like Nemesis having no control over the zombies is kind of part of his charm to a degree.
And that's also like, I have played Resident Evil 3. I played a shitload of Resident Evil 3 because I like to look at Nemesis like a bug on the floor in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got all the achievements and I haven't played it since. And the whole point of the zombies is that they can give you a detriment, but also get in the way of Nemesis, even in Resident Evil 3 Remake. And he just pushes them aside, like, you know, because he's a fucking living tank, but like,
did you
it's...
Did you enjoy Resident Evil 3?
It's the closest I can get to playing, like, Resident Evil 3 period, like, original. But I remember it came out. Tragically, I was sick, so I remember it came out, and my friends were playing it on release day, and I was too ill to keep going, so it was after a specific section, it was after the hospital section that everything falls apart. And then I started playing the game a lot, and I found out that you could just finish it in, like, under 2 hours, and I think that's pretty, like, abysmal.
Yeah,
like
was it
so much was cut out of it for frankly no reason.
Was it $60 at release? I bought it on sale, so I don't know. Because if it was $60 on release, I kind of understand people's complaints with it being as short as it was. It was in fact $60 on release, according to chat.
Incredible.
That is.
But you got RE Resistance, which was awesome and based.
Oh yeah, and definitely still has a player base. I never played the original Resident Evil 3. So and I didn't really know much about RE3. I was an RE4 person myself.
Yeah.
So But so when I went into the Resident Evil 3 remake, I was playing it. I got to the end boss fight with Nemesis, and I just sat there like, that's it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the end. That's it. That's all.
You love the flesh slug?
Like, the flesh slug?
That's basically what he is. He's a giant piss-off flesh slug at the end of it.
Oh, slug. I thought you were saying log.
No. I mean, he does look like a turd at the end of it, so...
Oh, man. It's just like... It was just like a really weird moment. It was just like, that's it. I thought this game was like way longer. It's weird too because I know they cut some stuff, but it's like the hospital section. Like I was in there for the majority of my playthrough, and I was like, oh wow, this game. Like I'm probably like halfway through it, and I didn't realize I was like right at the end once it was over.
Yeah. Like for me, like I remember playing through it, and I remember like I watch a content creator who does a bunch of no damage runs of like horror games.
Mm-hmm.
I highly recommend you watch him. He's called Carcinogen SDA.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome dude. Also gives a lot of really cool lore. And so I knew a lot of the speedrun strats. So unfortunately, my first time playthrough, which probably would have been normally like maybe 6 to 7 hours, took me like maybe 4 to 5 hours because I knew what the fuck to do on like the second hardest difficulty.
I think that was the refreshing thing about the Resident Evil 4 remake is like it actually felt like a different game. Even though because I've beaten the original Resident Evil 4 like 107 times or something like that. And the remake changed enough to where like even my strats that I knew just didn't work.
Yeah.
But even now, like even with how long that game is, like I know the strats and the speedrun stuff. I can probably sit down and beat that game in like an afternoon if I wanted to.
Oh yeah. Like I played through Resident Evil 4, but my computer can barely like manage it, and I played through Separate Ways, and that was pretty awesome.
I love Separate Ways.
But again, it's still just a genuine like tragedy, and I remember being so excited hearing about the Resident Evil 3 remake because Resident Evil 2 was good, it was serviceable, but it didn't have like the same depth as like the original Resident Evil 2 did when I was doing my research about it a while ago. I did my research for Resident Evil 3, and I was like, oh my god, we better get like the choices, like cutscenes, so that like we can like have different playthroughs. We didn't even get that. We didn't even get the fucking clock tower. The clock tower segment of Resident Evil 3 was like a good 40% of the game, but like with how much they slimmed everything down, it really just felt like shit.
They also got rid of like the choice aspect of
Yeah.
the original, which like I kind of understand why they did, but it's still kind of shitty they got rid of it.
Yeah, like
it's weird because once again, I think Resident Evil 4 remake is one of the best things. I think it's one of the best remakes ever made. I legitimately do. I will probably never play the original unless I absolutely have to, or just for the novelty.
Yeah.
Personally. But Resident Evil 3, like I can see, and even 2, I can see the arguments for playing the originals. They're just like they do some things better, and they're definitely, I think, in general, better games. It's Resident Evil 3, like I feel like it's always been the forgotten stepchild of like the Resident Evil series for some reason.
Yeah.
Even back when like it first released, I think I was alive. Would have been 98, I think. So I definitely.
I was barely 1 year old when Resident Evil 3 remake came out. When Resident Evil 3 came out,
I was 4, if I have that timeline right. I think it was 98. Someone in chat, please correct me. But it's one of those things where it's like I was barely able, like I could barely hold a controller. I was playing Pokemon at the time.
Hardly cognizant even to do such a thing.
What, play Oh, right. Fun fact about Pokemon: Pokemon taught me to read, which is why I probably can't read very well.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, Resident Evil 3, like I feel like it felt like they did it out of obligation and to like kind of keep the money flow going because of Resident Evil 2's reception.
Yeah.
But
it's still just like really abysmal, just like
cutting out half the game.
Like it's serviceable to like keep the timeline interesting and it added depth, but also like Resident Evil 4 remake like got me like really fucking excited because like the game is still fairly fresh, but like there's a particular photograph you can find at like one of the final segments of Resident Evil 4 that really tied together who Luis Serra was.
Yeah.
And that got me like genuinely so fucking excited because holy shit.
Also, behavior. I know you guys probably aren't listening to my streams, but if you are, can we get a Luis and Ashley skin, please?
Can I get the classic Nemesis, please?
Or
Capcom USA! Capcom! Give behavior the license to get us classic Nemesis and my life is yours!
I am really surprised we haven't gotten more Resident Evil stuff, considering we've gotten 2 chapters, 2 blighted skins, The shit. What skin did Blight get?
The
Baker.
William Birkin.
Yeah, Birkin. It's Baker. Birkin. The William Birkin skin. We got the fucking Hunk skin for Legion, which was really out of nowhere, but I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised we haven't gotten more because they seem like they're very, very committed to working with behavior.
But it also gave them like a shitload of money too.
Probably, but I mean, yeah, I'd say probably when I know it's Blighted Singularity. Blighted Singularity and Deathslinger is never going to happen. All right, well, let's just accept.
I'm praying for Blighted Unknown this year. I'm not gonna lie. That's gonna be so fun. That's gonna be so fire or absolute dog shit. I don't care either way.
So, once again, this isn't me like stroking my ego or like being like I am super important. Because of some of the people I know, I actually know what the blighted skins are.
Oh,
I can't tell you because I will get in trouble, and so will they.
I know people like that. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, it's just like with today. Like I told people this weeks ago. I knew it was Lara Croft a week after the anniversary happened. I've kept my mouth shut though about it.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm not a big fan of spoiling things for people. I didn't know the perks. I didn't know the perks at all. I just knew it was Laura. That's all I knew. What I did keep telling people though is I was like, I know who the next survivor is. I can't say who it is. All I will say is people are not gonna like it.
Oh, they're never gonna like anything. I mean, I don't really like it too much, but like, I'm not like bitching and moaning and saying like this doesn't belong in the game. Like,
Laura belongs in. Yeah. I don't know. People I don't know what people think belongs in the game. People said Alan Wake doesn't belong in the game.
Alan Wake, the literal horror protagonist.
Yeah, the literal inspiration for the flashlight mechanic in Dead by Daylight.
Yes.
Which behavior has said for years doesn't belong in Dead by Daylight.
God, I remember the teaser trailer for Alan Wake coming out, the very first one where just a flashlight. I was like, what if it's Alan Wake? And I was right, and that was awesome.
Oh my god. It's just like at this point, like once again, I know it's a vocal minority, but man, do they make everybody else look bad.
Holy shit.
It's just, I don't know. Like, once again, I forgot who I was talking to about this, but it's like, I honestly don't know what people think belongs in this game. It really comes down to that. Like, people said that Nicolas Cage doesn't belong in, and I think he's fine. I heard some people say Unknown doesn't fit. I heard a few people say that.
Oh my god.
Because he's too abstract for the game. And I'm like, bro, Dredge is right there. Oh goodness gracious,
you're breaking up on my end. Can you say that again? You broke up on my end.
I said people thought Dredge was Unknown was too abstract for the game.
No.
And I'm like, Dredge is right there. Like,
Dredge is right there. Yeah, like
Dredge is literally a concept brought to life. Or an event brought to life, I should say, not a concept.
The Dredge is the literal manifestation of repressed negative emotions. The unknown is the literal concept of the fear of the unknown itself.
Hold on, was it you I was joking about with Unknown being Tinkerbell, by the way?
Oh my fucking god, I think it was.
Prove me wrong. Right now, Indy, prove me wrong.
Lord, I don't even know if I can. But that's what makes Unknown so intriguing for me, just period. And there's a slight bit of meta to it as well, where you know the like intro lobby animation for it?
Where it drops?
Where it drops and it approaches your screen.
Can I laugh every time? Yeah.
It knows you're there. It knows you're on the other side of the screen, and it wants to fucking kill you.
Oh, that's actually kind of
It is self-aware of that. Which is why it'll say, you give me the creeps. Because it knows you're there. It just can't do anything. And it's a pissed off little cockroach motherfucker put into a torment nexus.
I should stop laughing at him, at it crumbling every time I look him up. I can't help it. It's just, also,
it's great.
I know we didn't really, bring up Unknown too much during this, but I will say Behavior knocked it out of the park with the skin. By the way,
Oh my god, yeah, absolutely.
anniversary skin is so good. Even Bills is good. Pigs is good. I wish you could earn pigs and not buy it, but whatever. They got to make their money somehow, I suppose.
I mean, Bill has free cosmetics forever because, like, supposedly in the contract with Valve, they said, like, yeah, don't make any money, you can put Bill in.
Yeah, which is part of why I think they'll never put other other Left 4 Dead characters in the game. As much as
I mean,
want...
I wouldn't mind it if they, like, made it so that, like, you could put other Left 4 Dead characters as cosmetics.
Well, I mean, some of them are, like, we have, well, no, I mean...
Bill in the original 3 from the first game,
Yeah.
basically. I don't know their names.
Well, no, Ellis is from the second game.
Oh yeah, Ellis is from the second game. I forgot.
Yeah, and I have someone at work that talks just like him, and he makes me laugh every time. It's really fun. I don't want to tell him that he sounds like Ellis because I think it would upset him, but it's just every time he talks. So he talks like don't get me wrong, like I can talk for hours. Obviously, I've proven that. At work though, no, I don't. I don't talk. I sit in a corner. I look at my phone. I do my job. But this guy will talk to a fucking wall for hours. I've seen him do it. I will literally.
You tell him to argue with a wall, and he'll do it.
I will be on my phone, paying literally zero attention to anything he's saying, and he will just keep talking and holding the conversation. I feel kind of bad sometimes, but it's like I've told him, I'm like, listen, man, I'm busy. I don't. I'm reading YouTube comments. I'm trying to network. I'm doing all of this, or like I'll be like counting the safe, and like he'll start talking to me. He's like, dude, I'm counting. Can you not right now?
Professional yapper.
It's yeah. He's a chill dude. It's just it makes me mad sometimes, but like I don't know. I try not to let it get to me too much. What was I talking about with Unknown? Yeah, we didn't really even talk about Unknown, but I think Unknown's the best design killer they've had in years.
I could talk about the Unknown and how much I adore it for like so long, but like here's the really like tragic thing. I remember during PTB in February this year, I loaded it and I told myself, if this killer is like abysmal and I can't enjoy them in any way, I have to take a break from DBD because I was so frustrated with Nemesis, like I was genuinely burnt out, and just I played that killer, and like initially it was like a physical revulsion because holy shit, that's such a freaky and fucked up design. Like, oh my god, you have this thing like coming, this like what is effectively a very phallic looking object like coming out and you're like shooting gunk, and then like I kind of understood the power a little better. I was like, oh my god, like holy shit, this is awesome, and then I made a montage. And that's my love letter to the killer, basically.
It's I brought this up about like killer popularity with some of like the less popular killers like Singularity and Twins. I really do think part of the reason they're not as popular is because people can't make montages and clips out of their powers.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Like I think that's one thing Unknown has like going for them in droves is that you can make so many montages.
Oh yeah, like I finish this montage and I get another clip and I like puts clip in through my software.
Like honestly speaking, like other than very specific situations, what kind of montage am I making out of Chucky? Oh shit, I hit a slice and dice. Let's go.
I mean, like, I think I was there for initial Chucky release, and I think the funniest shit on planet Earth was Chucky has been added to the Flickland roster. Slice and Dice turn gets nerfed to 90.
Yeah, okay.
We have to officially remove Chucky from the Flickland roster now. Like, that was like genuinely the funny shit. It was genuinely tragic, but it was also funny as hell.
Here's the thing with the 180s, because I think I talked about this in the first stream I did earlier while I was playing PTB, was and I've been very clear on this, and I think a lot of Chucky players agree with it. I don't want the 180s back, but I do think like 120 would be fine.
Yeah, I've said 120 as well. Like, we don't even need it to be back at the full 180. Like, 120 is more manageable.
I don't like feeling as limited as he does sometimes. That's all. And once again, you could argue he's strong enough, and I get that. It's just I would like to go for cooler stuff sometimes. That's all.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's, what made Unknown very, like, important to me very quickly was that, like, with Nemesis, like, I made a montage and it kind of sucked because that was, like, I made that, like, over the course of, like, 6 months and, or, like, 8 or 9 months.
have you seen Grim Gatsby's one? It's a very old montage. It was like when Nemesis
Yes.
first came. I love that video so much.
I love that, yeah. And actually, like, that was one of the first, like, videos I remember seeing when I first initially, like, got into playing Nemesis was because of stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like, I got into it because, like, I was like, wow, this killer is so cool. But also, like, my villain origin story, as I like to call it with Nemesis. So, I used to be a Legion main.
Mhm.
Everyone point and laugh.
Don't worry, there's someone in my chat who loves you very much right now. Trust me.
I got so fucking sick of being stunned out of power and people being, like, actual, like, troglodytes towards me effectively. And I was like, fuck it. I am so sick of this killer. I need a killer with, like, a palette break. And one of my friends said, you should get Demogorgon. I was like, no, I don't really want Demo. Demo seems really boring. So I get Nemesis. I look into Nemesis. I watched the Ots video about Nemesis. I'm like, okay, this guy seems pretty cool. The palette break did the very happy thing with my monkey brain. And then I just played this killer for 2,500 hours.
That'll do it.
I just blinked and I was like, oh, what?
Like, I don't. Once again, Chucky is Chucky's very different for me because I like the character more than the actual gameplay. But I've learned to love the gameplay more. But and I think it also helps. I did a what's it called? I did a killer concept video for Chucky about a month before he was revealed. Like, I didn't know Chucky was coming to the game or anything. I just did a concept video. It was actually a response to someone else's video. But anyways, besides the point, I am still surprised at how much I got right.
Sometimes Apollo gives you the gift of prophecy.
It like, I got the scamper right. I knew that was going to be a thing. The undetectability I got correct. I thought my idea was giving him the ability to not have a blade wipe animation, or a very, very fast one when he was in power. But I think the Slice and Dice kind of goes for that. I even predicted him being 110 movement speed.
Mm.
The only thing I didn't predict was a third-person camera. And like I told everyone who got mad at me for that, how the fuck was I supposed to know they were going to do that?
Yeah, like, holy shit.
It's a totally new thing. Like, how the fuck? They've never done it before. I didn't even know it was an option.
Shit.
But I do like, I think one of my favorite things about doing like the Killer Main podcast thing is I get these people on who, especially for like the more niche killers like Freddy and Hag and killers like that, I get these people on. It's just it's so nice to hear. Like, I hate using this word or phrasing, but it's so nice to hear the passion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and especially when people like explain like why they main a killer, I can definitely hear it come through, and it's just refreshing.
Yeah, and like, in my case, like, I was just so like enamored with like the design because this is such a like an alien and strange design. Like, it's literally just like a fucked up like mauled corpse.
Mm-hmm.
And then I play the killer, and I get like the feedback of using your power, using the teleport, using getting survivors injured and downed, and like the kit felt incredibly complete, which was something I did not feel with Nemesis for the longest time. Because I pushed him to his absolute limits, and then I was like, God, I just need to look up something really obscure, figure out something incredibly obscure, because like he's just incredibly neglected, and it sucks. He just got like tweaked a little and was completely neglected, and now he's just being left to rot, and it sucks.
It's funny with Unknown too, because I think Unknown, one of the bigger things, one of the reasons I love playing them so much, the sound design alone.
Yes, the sound design is incredible.
It's very similar to Pyramid Head. Like I've said this before, if there's one credit I'll give to Pyramid Head, the sound of hitting a survivor with your M2 is one of the most satisfying things in this game.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, and I think it's something they need to go back to the drawing board on a lot of killers. Like I think a big part of like why a lot of people enjoy playing Chucky is the voice lines. With Nemesis, like it's such a minor thing, but I feel like they could go back to the drawing board with the sound design because you get the giant like loud ass noise when you tear up.
Mm-hmm.
You get like the whip crack noise. I think I haven't played Nemesis too much recently, but if memory serves, you only get it on contamination, right?
Yep. The kind of the ding almost.
Yeah, I really feel like they could just do that on every whip hit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think it would be like a massive like buff or nerf or anything. It'd just be a nice quality of life thing that just kind of gives you the feedback.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But like, but also like I do wish we could get like some just visual, like not even visual, like this wouldn't even be a model update. This would just be an animation update because you know I play on not Singularity. Oh my god, I'm saying that as I'm watching Singularity gameplay. I play on Unknown, and sometimes I'll play against survivors, and my favorite little like it's such a really tiny thing. My favorite thing is that like I'll turn all the way around to look at a survivor. You could turn the Unknown around almost 190 degrees before it starts turning the body around.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's such a small thing, but like I really like need that in like a lot more killers where instead of just being on like an axis or a pivot, they need to just like have more animation. Like you see it in like a lot of the older killers, like with Demo, he doesn't have any like turn animation.
I mean,
When you turn around, like
even Chucky has like his his fucking his CEO walk.
yeah,
I
like
can't.
Nemesis has a walk animation, but like more like turn animations, just something that makes it look less like a fucking static like pivot.
I also heard the suggestion. I think actually Horser is the one who brought it up. Instead of kicking or punching a wall, Nemesis should just walk through it. It just makes sense when he said it. I was like, you know what? That actually makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
um,
just like busting through.
it'd be like guard, especially on the PTB right now. Like if you carnifex a wall and you just kind of walk through the wall, like
Yeah,
it would be such a small thing that doesn't really affect balance at all. But it just makes them feel better. That's really all it
yeah,
comes down to. It's not even really a
and
quality of life thing.
have him slap the gen. But also, like the other thing with Nemesis that like they really do in such an incredibly subtle way to make him feel like, you know, this is a big, strong motherfucker. Like he breaks pallets in one like the double fist overhand like crunch. He punches out like
Mm-hmm.
walls with one punch. Like even like Oni, he does it in two punches.
Yeah.
And like that's like between like all of the killer like wall break animations, like Oni's and Nemesis's are like two of my favorites because it's just, you know, it's satisfying. It also just kind of makes you feel strong.
Right. And if I had one criticism, but it's not really something they can fix, I feel like the speed is too slow. But then again, it's the same as every other killer, so there's not really much they can do about that.
Mm-hmm.
With Oni, I kind of feel like he should punch the wall like stupid fast, but it's just a me thing.
Yeah.
Once again, they can't really adjust that. I'll just bring brutal strength and be happy.
Yeah, just brutal everything. Just Momotech that shit.
Well, I mean, this is like with Chucky's fucking. Have you seen Chucky's anniversary animation when he gets?
Yes, it's great.
I love it so much.
They reuse the wall break animation. Like, you know what? That makes the most sense, and that's incredible. Thank you.
Oh my god, I just love how fucking fast it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just. Also, Nemesis is Mori. Could be better.
Oh yeah, definitely. But like, it does kind of reflect the character because like at the end of the day, he is just a very like he's just a programmable creature. He's very one dimensional, tragically enough. But there's more depth to like what surrounded like him being made in the first place, which is what makes him so intriguing to me than him actually being as a character.
Yeah.
And like that's fine to like just have the appeal for, but with the Unknown, like I hate to like compare and contrast them, but I am seeing a lot of like similarities and like things like there's the mystery around this character. Like, you and like, there's no wrong theory, basically, with Unknown. Is it an alien? Yes! Is it, like, a freaky, like, slasher, like, serial killer? Yes! Is it a government experiment? Of course! Like, you could say yes or no, and you'd still be right. Like, I think all of the things surrounding it is true, though.
So what you're saying is I'm correct when I say it's Tinkerbell? My laughs got cut. I'm sorry.
Perhaps.
I mean, I mentioned that before with the MK Ultra stuff. That's kind of I am surprised that behavior even went there with the Unknown story.
Yeah.
It's very subtle and it's in between the lines, but it's in there. But I am so surprised they even brought that up in the way they did.
The MK Ultra.
Yeah, because I mean they brought it up with Doctor's lore originally, and it's been retconned out, because it's a very it's a very touchy subject, which is why I'm very surprised they brought it back for Unknown, but it makes sense.
Yeah, because, like, I know I never did research on it myself, but, like, my understanding is they did a bunch of really crazy shit involving mind control.
It was mind control, double agents, fucking. It was a lot of torture and interrogation tactics. There was a lot they did during MK Ultra. It was.
Oh god, yeah, a lot of like fucked up and evil shit, basically.
Well, I mean, the only reason we know anything about it is because the documents that were supposed to be shredded and gone were found. Yeah, drugs, torture, mind control. It was a lot of there was even some talks about trying to give people superpowers without like any it's it's a touchy subject. I mean,
without like the whole concept of without like ever finding out of MK Ultra, we wouldn't have gotten Stranger Things for the most part because they have their own version of MK Ultra.
Yeah, basically. And once again, I think it's. I talked about this in the actually in the Unknown interview. It's a weird thing with like historical events and trying to put them into like, especially in a video game like Dead by Daylight, to one, do them justice and feel like you're not disregarding like the terrible act that happened, while also trying to acknowledge it still happened. And I think Unknown's lore, because it doesn't go too deep into it, so I think that was like the right call with it. Same with like Doctor's lore. I actually think Doctor's lore, when they mentioned it a little bit, was fine, but I do understand why they got rid of it, because they were kind of romanticizing it a bit because Doctor was the main character of the story.
I mean, like, I feel like you can be allowed to do that because, you know, it's Doctor's story. It's being told from his perspective, and in his perspective, he's not an evil, fucked up sociopath. He's not like a monster. He's just a dude doing his job, and he likes his job a lot.
It will still always be my favorite thing about Clown's lore. He thinks he's this super genius mastermind who is better than everybody. Meanwhile, he's just some like dude who throws gas at people.
He huffs his own piss. Bro huffs piss.
Always funny to me. My favorite thing in his lore will still always be when he's having a fight with a raccoon, and we don't find out until after the fight's over, and he thinks it's like this super immensely like intelligent opponent.
Oh my god.
Just him fighting a raccoon in a garbage can. Never not be funny to me.
Piss huffery.
I love Clown's lore. Clown's lore is just, it's so good. It's funny and serious in the perfect way.
Yeah, I need to actually get into like reading like lore, because sometimes I would read lore and I'll record myself reading it, and people like hearing me read the lore because apparently I have the voice for it or like something like that, which is so strange to hear because I don't feel any particular way about how I speak, I think.
I have been told I have the perfect voice for podcasts, which I don't even know what that means, but sure.
Sure! Fuck it! But also, like, I have a funny way of, like, enunciating things sometimes, because, like, I'll just start reading something and I read ahead of myself. But also, like, you know, I read very fast sometimes because I just want to get through it. I had someone say, "Damn, that you sound like a dollar store Kindle Fire book audiobook." I'm like, okay.
Dollar store audio.
God.
That is the most rare insult I think I've ever heard. Dollar store.
At least it's creative. At least it's funny.
Yeah. At least it's different. At least it's not just like, I don't know. I don't really insult people.
I fucked your mom last night.
Oh
like,
yeah, there you go.
sure.
Is that an insult? I will never understand if that's an insult anymore. It's 2024. I've heard that like 7 million times, man. I don't care. I'm glad she's happy at least.
Yeah.
Man.